Friday. It's the Friday edition of the best breakfast show on the block, the most informative, educative, and analytical breakfast show, the AM show. And we are your hosts. I'm Sweetie Abochi.
My name is Benjamin Akakwe, and I choose to call this day Fly Day. Remember that tiny song? Oh, I believe I can fly. Why? What's inspiring that?
Well,
it just came to mind, but I like to call it Fly Day.
Yeah.
We get fly. It's entering the weekend, though the weekend sometimes.
And
there's more work.
Yeah, some things were flying in Parliament yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Batakari, tables, chairs, microphones.
How did we get here?
Do you remember the dawn of that Parliament?
Well, but we'll discuss all that. But before we get there, first we'll serve you the AM news. And then after that, Andrew Appiah-Dankwa will join us to review the newspapers. He's a legal practitioner and spokesperson for the Movement for Change. And then Dr. Ikuya Mwako, she's a member of the NPP communications team, as well as Dr. Kwamina Mintanyako, member of Parliament for Cape Coast North. They all join us to review the newspapers. And today being Friday, Muftan Abdullah will serve you Prime Take for AM Sports, and then we get into our big stories.
Now, if you want to see flying a la parliamentarians, legislators, we'll be bringing you the beat on that because it was an unprecedented event of chaos and sparks flying at the Appointments Committee of Parliament between the majority and the minority over whether or not to continue vetting two ministers designate, Okudzeto Ablakwa and Kwabena Mintah Akando, for Foreign Affairs and Health, in what can be aptly described as Ghana's day of shame. Now, how does Ghana's parliament redeem its image of being a house of violence? We'll be discussing these matters and matters arising from the Ministerial Vetting. We'd love you to join us with your thoughts on social media on those matters. But also serving you today, I'll be bringing you my blunt thoughts.
What are we talking about?
I'll be looking at Ghana's economy in focus, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'll be talking about cocoa versus gold. I'll be talking about the IMF. I'll be talking about what Burkina Faso is doing that we could emulate, though they have a military leader.
Well, and after all that, we'll bring you what we call the watering down on Friday, the E-Corner with Noella. You don't want to miss anything today on the AM show, so stay glued to your Joy News channel. And let's start now with the AM news. Welcome aboard the news, the AM news on the AM show. Let's start from the appointment committee hearing that degenerated into chaos and fistfights yesterday as NDC and NPP members of parliament traded words and blows over whether or not more nominees should be vetted on Thursday night. Now, the vetting process took a dramatic turn as tensions between the majority and minority sides escalated into chaos. What began as a routine process soon spiraled into heated confrontations, scuffles, and even destruction of equipment. Our parliamentary affairs correspondent, Kwikwa Asante, saw it all and now reports.
It was a day of rising tension and heated exchanges, but one which started with a cordial yet charged vetting process. Two nominees, Murtala Mohammed and Rashid Purple, sailed through their questioning unscathed. But when Communications Minister-designate Sam George took the hot seat, things quickly escalated, his grilling stretching over 5 hours, with Minority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin holding the floor for nearly 4 of those 5 hours. Tempers flared as the NPP side of the committee, led by Afenyo-Markin, declared they will vet no more than 2 more nominees and proceeded to scrutinize Transport nominee Joseph Bukari Nikwe and Sports Minister nominee Kofi Adams in a very brief fashion. Tensions reached a boiling point with both sides digging in their heels.
No. It's not going to happen. It's not happening. We are not doing this. We are not happening.
The NPP MPs all now rising to their feet, their opposition loud and clear as they rejected any further vetting of Health Minister-designate Kwabena Mintah Akando and Foreign Minister-designate Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa.
Do it. Who's doing?
More chaos and drama erupted as the NPP MPs began raising their chairs and slamming them onto the tables in protest.
You want the West, you have it. It won't happen. It won't happen. It won't happen. Do your work. Do your work. Do your work.
The room, packed with family and supporters of the nominees, erupted in boos, voicing their displeasure with the NPP stance. Minority Chief Whip Frank Anodompre made a passionate defense of his side's opposition.
Kofi Adams was not part of the arrangement. We compromised and did it. We agreed on 4. We have done 5. They should understand. What is this? Why? Look, some of them, we spend less than 30 minutes on them. We can't do proper vetting with this short time. They should understand this. Otherwise, it will not happen. It will not happen.
But even as he was speaking, a scuffle broke out between Majority Chief Whip Roxanne Dafiamepo and former Deputy Transport Minister Hassan Tampuli.
And that's a violence, that's a fight. This is literally 2 MPs at each other's net. Honorable Hassan Tampuli together with Roxanne Nelson Dafiamepo pushing and pushing, holding each other's clothes as we speak. And their leaders are trying to separate them, and none of them will allow this to happen. And they've been separated as we speak. But this is chaos.
And just when it seemed things couldn't get worse, NPP MPs near one of the tables overturned it, crashing microphones to the floor. The table itself was left in ruins, 2 of its legs broken, the ensuing chaos.
Oh, it's chaos. The table have been turned. It's chaos, it's chaos, it's chaos, it's chaos. The table have turned. More microphones are falling to the ground and things have been destroyed. The table has broken. The table has been broken.
Moments later, police officers were seen hauling away the broken table.
It's a table that should have 4 legs, but it's a table with only 2 legs, because when the confrontation did happen, 2 legs got broken, microphones on it all got destroyed, and so that table is now being taken away.
The situation spiraled further as leaders briefly left the room before returning, with Minority Leader Alexander Fenyo-Makin accusing the NDC of attempting to bully and intimidate them.
NDC is always up to intimidating people. They think that they must always bully. We will not accept any bully. They can call us micro-minority. They can say whatever they want to say. Just as we finished the fit, we realized that they've paraded several other nominees, dressed, and then they thought that we will boycott. We will not boycott. We will not boycott.
Majority Leader Mahama Ayarega confirmed the vetting could not continue, citing the destruction of nearly all the logistics.
We would have continued, but logistically, it is no longer possible to continue. Logistically, the microphones have all been destroyed. The technical staff have closed and they have gone home. And so there's no way, in fact, even if they were here, the destruction of some of the machines here cannot be easily replaced tonight.
The session has now been adjourned until Friday morning, with the process set to resume at a more secure location, the conference room of Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagben's office.
As you would see with MPs at each other's neck, pushing and shoving each other, tables have been destroyed, microphones have been destroyed, simply because they will not let down their entrenched positions on this matter and allow the process to continue or otherwise. And once they could not come to a gentleman agreement, they decided that they will go the way of brawl, and they went the way of confrontation. Tables have now been destroyed and microphones have been destroyed. The decision now is to suspend now, go and reflect on this, and we've seen very violent confrontation at the start of the 9th Parliament. My name is Kweku Asante, reporting for Joy News, Parliament House, Accra.
All that will be discussed later on the big story segment, so you want to stay for that. But in other stories, Minister Designates for Communications, Digitalization and Innovation, Samuel Nate George, has announced plans to conduct a SIM card re-registration exercise if he is approved by Parliament. This, according to him, is meant to deal with the current level of cyber fraud. James Aveji has more from his vetting, plus all the drama that unfolded in the following report.
True to what many would have predicted, The 5 hours vetting of Minister nominee for Communications, Digitalization and Innovation, Samuel Nate George, has turned out as one of the longest, with the minority leader Alexander Penyumakin taking him on for over 3 hours. First was the back and forth over Sam George's criticism of the Chief Justice.
Is it your case that the LGBT case mounted by my respected friend Richard Delasky, barrister at law, etc., was deliberately delayed by the Chief Justice of the Republic? Is that your position? Yes, no?
Mr. Chairman, the description are your attributions, not mine. My words were that she had the power to move the case faster than it was being done. And subsequent actions after the demonstration that I led have actually proved my position to be true. That when the Chief Justice gives a timeline, everybody, respondent or plaintiff, Attorney General inclusive, must abide by it. When she invoked her powers, everybody complied. So my contention that she could have expedited it if she had given earlier timelines were proving right by her subsequent actions.
Alexander Penyumakin also took Sam George on a long haul of query on his social media post, media and public criticism of the previous government.
Was indeed a beneficiary of the Galamsey activity. Do you solemnly believe in that? That indeed he was a beneficiary of this?
Chairman, my understanding is that the president at the time was leader of the NPP, per your constitution. He was leader of the party. We all saw or listened to the recording between the then Minister for Environment, Science and Technology and the then Vice Chairman of your Central Region Party, where he said you needed to do Galamsey because party Hiasika. The party that Hiasika or needed money was the NPP, and President Akufo-Addo was leader of the NPP. If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, and has his kids in a row behind it like a duck, it is a duck.
To some issues around the sector, the minister-designate says the ministry will conduct another SIM card registration if approved and also reduce cost of mobile data.
On the issues of mobile money fraud, we have to work collaboratively with the MNOs, and that's why we have to go back to the issue of SIM re-registration again, to properly register the SIMs so that the MNOs can identify who it is. Because it's one thing blocking the SIMs, it's another thing tracking the persons, the cartels behind it, and being able to arrest them and prosecute them. You need to be able to identify persons who hold SIMs.
On the controversial anti-LGBTQIA+ bill, the Ningo Prampram MP said he will support its comeback to Parliament.
My position is that that bill is a critical part of our national life. Ghanaian family values, our children's innocence must be protected. In this 9th Parliament, that bill will be reintroduced, either as a private member's bill or as government's bill. I will work with government. If it's government's bill, if it's not and it's my bill, I will bring it back again, because my chiefs seated here, the chiefs from Ningo and Prampram, supported me in bringing that bill in the 8th Parliament. They've asked me to reintroduce it in the 9th Parliament. I will do so.
But personally, how does the nominee flex his budget beyond his pay as an MP?
Did you have the benefit of any secondary source of income?
Mr. Chairman, I'm married to a very industrious woman.
No, I don't get it. Please explain.
I'm married to an industrious woman.
Okay, so please explain to her, if you say you are married to an industrious woman and that is the source of your secondary income, what exactly do you mean?
I mean, my wife takes care of me.
Very well.
It is unclear what position the minority will take towards the approval of the nominee. James Saveji for Joy News.
From Parliament, let's move on to other stories. The Awin Traditional Council in the Western region is asking the government and its allied agencies to halt the destruction of forest reserves in the area. The call comes in the wake of fresh invasion of the Tanwanya, Tanonmiri and Yoyo forest reserves by illegal miners. Members of the Awin Traditional Council accuse Member of Parliament for the area, Oscar Ofori-Labi, of fueling galamsey activities in the Tanwanya Forest Reserve. Erastus Asaridonko tells us more.
The Tanwanya, Tanonmiri and Yoyo forests have recently come under attack by illegal miners led by known NDC activists in the Awin municipality. The siege has led to violent clashes which have claimed 2 lives and resulted in several injuries. 3 armed groups have taken over sections of the forest, mining illegally. The Awin Traditional Council accused the MP for Awin, Oscar Ofori-Labi, of involvement in the illegal invasion of the Tanwanya Forest Reserve. Chief of Nkwanta, Nana Into, at the news conference urged the new Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Ama-Kofi-Boa, to protect the forest.
So now we want to appeal to the government through Forestry Commission with all the necessary institutions to come to our aid so that the forest could be protected for us.
According to the Traditional Council, Oscar Ofori-Labi has ignored their calls to address concerns, prompting them to urge the regional executives of the National Democratic Congress to intervene. Nana Peyin II is Tufuhene of Inchi.
As we speak, Honorable Labi has never honored our invitation to meet with Nananum. Nananum engaged diplomatically with the regional executives of the NDC to call Labi to order, but he abused them. He went ahead and collected 200,000 entry fee for groups to enter our forest. Consequently, Nananum has no choice than to write to the Ghana Cattle Bishop on the 20th to help appeal to the government to stop Labi and his gang from these notorious activities.
The Traditional Council is calling for a joint effort from the government, Forestry Commission, the media and security agencies to stop the destruction of forests in the Awin municipality. Nana Into, Chief of Nkwanta again.
So when Nananum had this issue, we called Labi. Labi could not come. So Ked, who is a special assistant to Labi, came to the palace, telling us that all those activities going on, the power that the authority that he had was from Labi. And that squad, Karim, Farouk, Baron, they were those people who are working in the forest. They are working in the forest. And whenever you ask them, they will tell you it's Oscar Ofori-Labi, who is the MP, whom they are doing that work for.
2 of the groups have since abandoned the illegality in the forest, leaving 1 group still on site. Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaridonko, Awin Municipality, Western Region.
Remember, hashtag no to Galamsey, hashtag stop Galamsey now are still on. But moving on, there are calls for a recalibration of Africa's investment space to support businesses. According to the Managing Director of VFD Group PLC, Nonso Okpala, this is critical to boosting the operations of businesses on the continent. He spoke to Joy News at a high-level retreat for the VFD's group in Ghana.
VFD Group high-level retreat brought together managing directors and key executives from VFD Group's diverse subsidiaries to foster strategic alignment, drive growth, and inspire leadership excellence. The 3-day retreat taking place in Accra is designed to serve as a platform for reflection, collaboration, and forward-thinking discussions that will shape the group's strategic vision for 2025 and beyond. Speaking to Joy Business on the significance of the retreat, Nonso Okpala, Group Managing Director of VFD Group PLC, emphasized the importance of alignment in an expanding ecosystem.
VFD Group is a proprietary investment company based out of Lagos. currently with investments in Nigeria, in Ghana, in South Africa, in the UK. And what we typically do is make investments in companies and opportunities that we find. As of today, we have active investments in 16 companies, most of which are here, represented by their MDs. The objective is for us to continue to find ways to create synergy. The objective is for us to brainstorm on the strategy and the objective of our company. Understanding is that if we go into other African countries, we go with that same mindset of replicating these businesses in those locations. A third consideration for us is around our ecosystem-focused fintech business called Bundle. It provides loyalty to businesses within our ecosystem and out of our ecosystem. Our general consideration for VFD Group is to invest in companies that we consider champions in.
Part of ET's 2025 vision, VFD Group is set to expand its global operations, strengthen its Ghana presence, and position itself on the top global exchanges. The retreat will be a cornerstone in driving this ambitious agenda, ensuring that every leader within the ecosystem is aligned with the group's long-term strategic priorities. Here is the Managing Director of VFD Ghana, Hubert Asamoah.
Well, it's been an interesting retreat so far because we've got the chance to meet all our CEOs from across the group. More than 50 people all joining to deliberate about the future of our company. And we've managed to create and enhance the bonds that link us already. I think 2025 is our year, and I hope we are all going to do very well. So when we meet next year, we'll be able to share all the success stories that were planted at this retreat.
The 3-day retreat was under the theme Refresh, Align, and Connect.
The effects of climate change are worsening poverty and unemployment in Ghana, forcing many young people to migrate from rural areas to cities in search of opportunities that often don't exist. ActionAid Ghana Country Director John Nkol has highlighted the urgent need for interventions. He made these remarks during the launch of the Strengthening Community Resilience Against Climate Change project in WA. Upper West Region, our Joy News Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam reports.
ActionAid Ghana, in partnership with GIZ, introduced the over £1 million Sell and Reach project to support climate interventions in 110 communities across the Upper West and Savannah regions. Launched at WA, the initiative focused on improving access to water resources and irrigation infrastructure, as well as improving afforestation and soil health in targeted communities. Using reports from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and the World Meteorological Agency on the rise of global temperatures, ActionAid Ghana Country Director John Nkol lamented of the disproportionate changes that affect women, youth, and children, leading to food insecurity, increased poverty, and hindering overall development.
A World Meteorological Organization report indicates that 66% chance that from 2023 to 2027, at least 1 year will see average global temperatures exceed 1.5 degrees Celsius, above pre-industrial levels. They also threaten our progress towards the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Drought, heat, and floods in current times have affected food sovereignty and increasing poverty in Ghana, and more especially and specifically also affecting the Upper West region and the Savannah regions. Ghana is not immune to these challenges. Notable events include annual spillage of the Bagre Dam in Burkina Faso and the Weja Dam in recent times in the Greater Accra region, both causing significant destruction to communities along the river banks. The spillage displaced over 35,000 people across 3 regions, destroying livelihoods and homes. Furthermore, the severe drought during the 2024 cropping season, the worst since the 1982-83, has heavily impacted food security in agricultural heartlands, particularly across the northern Ghana.
John Enkau enumerated plethora of climate change intervention programs that Action Aid Ghana and its partners initiated in the past to confront the growing climate-induced challenges, which has helped to improve climate resilience strategies for smallholder farmers.
Overarching context demonstrates the widening poverty gap, gender inequality, and increasing injustices around the world, and particularly the Upper West and the Savannah regions, which require a comprehensive set of actions, strategies, priorities in the communities that we work in, particularly facing the youth, women, and girls.
Project manager for the REACH project, Matthias Betold, threw further light on the project.
The REACH project is not working alone. It's actually part of a larger program, the EU-Ghana Agricultural Program, which is, by the way, the largest program of the EU in Ghana. And aside from the REACH project, there is also the market-oriented agriculture program. Maybe you know it, it's also implemented by GIZ, and the agricultural water management program, which there will be also some similarities with this one here. So all in all, it's really looking at achieving an impact, bringing solutions for economic development based on agriculture, leveraging the potential of irrigation and agricultural development.
Chief Director at the Upper West Regional Coordinating Council, Haji Pogna Fati Kure, in a speech read on her behalf by an Assistant Director at the Upper West Regional Coordinating Council, Walid Adams, pledged the commitment of the Upper West RCC to making the project successfully. Reporting for the news, Rafik Salam. Wow.
Coming back from wine, going straight into our business update segment with Benjamin Akakbo.
Welcome to business. Let's kickstart matters with our currency market updates. On to our stories now. Now, government is actively negotiating with 60 international banks to restructure $2.7 billion in commercial loans. According to Finance Minister Dr. Cassiel Atoforsen, this is part of a broader strategy to manage the country's debt and restore economic stability. He was speaking at a media engagement.
The Memorandum of Understanding formalizes the debt treatment agreed with the Official Creditors Committee and follows a long and in-depth negotiation process initiated by the government of Ghana back in June 2024. The signing of this agreement constitutes an important milestone in Ghana's debt restructuring journey. Ghana is now entering the final stage of the restructuring process. We now have a strong and detailed framework to implement the financial terms through bilateral agreement with the official creditors. We also hope to make further progress with our commercial creditors in the coming weeks to reach a mutual beneficiary solution for the debt treatment. In these discussions, we will be guided by the most favored creditors clause and in the principles of comparability of treatment, offering a precise framing of the terms that creditors may receive. As Minister, I will expedite our engagement in order to complete the remaining 7% of the debt restructuring. We take this opportunity to appreciate the efforts and support so far by the external commercial creditors and urge them to support us to complete this process as soon as possible. With this progress on the debt restructuring, we will now focus on our economic recovery through the implementation of an ambitious reform agenda, fostering strong, resilient, and inclusive growth for all Ghanaians. I repeat, with this progress on the debt restructuring, we will now focus our economic recovery through the implementation of an ambitious reform agenda, fostering strong and inclusive growth for all Ghanaians.
In our second story, the Minister-designate for Labour, Jobs and Employment, Rashid Pelpo, has emphasized that government is ready to support already existing businesses to participate in the 24-hour economy policy. He disclosed this when he appeared before the Appointments Committee.
And policy direction of it is to give vent to businesses, to make it not just a choice, but a policy decision by the state, to ensure that in doing so, businesses can be supported. Those businesses that were not in 24 hours can now be supported to join the rest. It's no longer going to be as and when I like it, but just when I like it and backed by government policy. So it is true that several organizations are already working 24 hours, and that's giving credence to the fact that we can get others to join them. You know, one of the challenges that other businesses are facing working 24 hours is how much they can ensure security. And we say we'll provide the security. Is how much they can ensure enough capacity. We said we will support them with the capacity. You know, and et cetera, et cetera. How much do we have enough money to pay for electricity? We said we will support it to do so. It's simply just to boost production, create more opportunity for our people to work, and to ensure that we reshape the economy in a manner that is going to be work-based and production-based.
Up next, let's serve you the commodities market. I'm your chef for business. Thanks for allowing me to serve you. Handing over back to Sweetie Abochi.
If you're a chef, what does that make me then?
Ah, well, my co-chef.
Well, that ends the AM news on the AM show, but stay because the news review comes right up. And Andrew Appiah-Dankwa is a legal practitioner and spokesperson for Movements for Change. Dr. Ikuya Mwako, member of the NPP communications team, and Dr. Kwamina Mentanyako, member of Parliament for Cape Coast North. They all join us to review the newspapers. We'll be right back. Welcome to the news review segment on the AM show. I'm Sweetie Abochi, and I have a really great panel of guests this morning. Joining me in studio is Andrew Appiah-Dankwa. He's a legal practitioner and spokesperson for the Movement for Change. And then I have Dr. Ekuya Mwako, member of the NPP Communications team, and Dr. Kwamina Mintanyako, member of Parliament for Cape Coast North. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the News Review segment.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, so Appiah-Dankwa and Ekuya, you know that we give our guests about 2 minutes tops to walk us through any topical issue you want to reflect on. So, Doc, I'll come to you last. I want to start with you. Appiah-Dankwa, what's on your mind? Please take me to Parliament.
Good morning once again. Always a pleasure to share this platform with you. And Doc, first I'm meeting you. As for my big brother, we've met excellent guy. Having had the opportunity of congratulating him on his weekend.
Thank you. I appreciate
that. I have no choice but to go to Parliament. Yesterday, I just saw it this morning.
Right.
I saw it this morning and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it, especially so when, for some of us, our view has been, how do we sustain this democracy? And in my mind, one of the key factors you need to sustain democracy is to create a right political culture that would tolerate diverse views. So, where wasn't the home of democracy? You see, where you have the representation of the people, they simply can't find a way to tolerate diverse view or to disagree without resorting to
fisticuffs and throwing chairs.
In fact, I want to use the word fighting. I don't want any confusion.
Yeah.
Without resorting to fighting. Then, for me, it's beyond it being inexplicable, as in we shouldn't also tolerate it, and serious questions needs to be asked. Indeed, property of this country has been destroyed.
Yes.
I saw some distractions. But then what's even more serious is the kind of message it tells us, the people. Because if our focus is to build a right political culture, that is going to hold political leadership accountable, then it's sad where the number one house for the purpose of accountability, for the purpose of being able to tolerate diverse view, can't find a way to hold themselves up for accountability and also to disagree without necessarily resorting to violence. So for me, it's a very sad day in our democracy, and it's over the past 5 years, it's been one too many. And it's even sadder when you see the people who are supposed to be the leaders of the house, because from the video I saw the minority leader, I saw the minority chief whip, who just 2 days ago was on Parliament chastising somebody for apparently disrespecting him. And I see these people leading, in my view, a charge against democracy itself.
Right.
Yes, and so, for me, I think we should ask questions, and we should create a system where these kind of things must not be tolerated within our body politics.
But the crux of the matter, whether or not they were right to request that they postpone the vetting process, because really it was late. Yeah. But let me throw that to you. Dr. Ekuya Mwako, what did you make of what happened yesterday in Parliament?
Well, I think firstly it's important to condemn any form of violence that goes on in the House of Parliament, but it's also important to look at what might have precipitated this violence. Before things at the committee happen, agreements are made. And then the agreement yesterday was to have a vetting of 4 people. It moves on to 6. Then it's about 11 p.m. and the majority wants to bully their way to have another 2 nominees vetted at the ungodly hour of 11 p.m. when they've been at it, I think, from midday. Then, I don't know if anybody saw the beginning of the video. My good friend here only saw members of the minority who were engaged in the scuffle. But the Honorable Dafia Mepo was also very much involved in it. I might even call him the instigator of the issue. There was so much negative energy and violence coming from the majority such that the minority had to as it were, defend themselves in that situation? Because it just smacked of bullying, a lot of bullying. That shouldn't be countenanced. And I think it all comes down to, from the past week, this week, there have been a lot of discussions as to the decorum that should be exercised in the House of Parliament. Another thing that I saw that I found very disturbing is the people that followed the nominees to Parliament, the common floor members, as it were, hooting at the minority leader, or I don't know, when did that start? I mean, members of Parliament to a certain level are even immune to some prosecution for behavior, acts that go on the House of Parliament. That does not cover...
To some extent.
To some extent, yes. That does not cover the rest of us common floor members. So how do you go into someone's house to accost them and make them uncomfortable? That's something that we should look at. I think that the supporters that come with the nominees should be spoken to be guided as to where they are, and so that they behave accordingly.
Yesterday, I had a conversation with Samuel Bing, Parliamentary Network Africa, and the conversation was really about the integrity of this arm of government, how people take to social media these days and condemn members of parliament. I mean, the respect that we accorded members of parliament some years ago and what we see today is so different. You know, talking about Oliver Akavamawo being hauled before the appointment committee, that's where the conversation started. And so just yesterday, having a conversation about protecting the integrity of parliament, and to wake up this morning and this happens, luckily we have a member of parliament in our midst. So let me throw that to you. What does this do to your image as parliamentarians? And how do you feel about everything that happened yesterday?
Well, first of all, I want to use this opportunity to render an unqualified apology to the good people of Ghana, that as members of parliament, we were able to go through what happened yesterday. I'm very embarrassed. I'm very disappointed. I don't think that as members of parliament, we should push ourselves to that particular level. But sometimes we allow our sentiments to go beyond what we are supposed to do logically. And then if you see what happened there, I think Doc was just mentioning the fact that we have a lot more people coming into parliament just to come and support members who are supposed to be vetted.
Yeah.
And that also accrued to that particular tension that goes on around the room, and then how some people express their sentiments regarding some specific questions that are posed. I'm also of the view that some of the questions really are not really important, especially so when we are asking the person's capability and capacity, and then the person's ability to do the job. You ask me whether I have 2 wives or 1 wife, how does that got to do with the job that I'm supposed to do?
Yeah.
If you ask me whether or not I commuted from one point to another, what has that got to do with the job? We need to be asking questions that really would push the individuals to be able to come out with what they can really do to change the narrative in which respective ministry that they want to run. And if you're able to direct questions in that manner, I don't think we will sit for these long hours trying to either show our muscles or otherwise do what is not appropriate. So for me,
smiling, but I'll come to you in a bit. I know you want to talk about how some people from the NPP side were vetted for close to 2 days.
Yes.
So you hold your horse for me. I'll come to you in a bit.
That's what I'm thinking. I am of the view, but I must commend the minority. Honestly, this is the first time that we've had a situation where members are vetted, we go into the chamber, they are approved, and then everything goes smoothly. Normally it takes some weeks before that happens. So I would want to commend the minority for supporting the majority to make sure that this particular exercise will go on as smoothly as possible. Especially so when we just have 1 month that the president is able to get his ministers all approved. And I think it's a very good thing that the minority is doing. However, I would also want to plead with the minority that they should minimize the kind of questions and then steer the questions to a particular way that will rather elicit the capacity of the people and the ability to do the job.
Is it a question of the time, or is it a question of the kind of questions that are being posed? Which one is it for you? Because
for me, the timing is good because the minority has been able to allow that to happen. It never happened, and it has never happened, where we have a month where all ministers have been approved. In fact, 2/3 of the ministers have been approved. It's never happened. We need some weeks before, after the vetting, you go to the floor before we are able to approve them. But this time around, we could do that a day. A day after the vetting, they go into the chamber, we do the approval, and that's it. And that's why I want to commend the minority for that.
Okay.
But with the timing, which is appropriate, because we need to start working, And then the president is looking forward to start working with the ministers that he has
But
nominated.
I meant the time spent on one nominee.
That is
For
what
example,
I am
we
saying,
did
that
close
I
to
don't
4 or
think-
5 hours.
I don't
on
think it's really
Sam
necessary.
George, yeah.
I don't think it's really necessary, especially so when everyone on the board or everyone on the committee is very much aware that all these nominees will be approved. So what was a waste of time for? I will be of the opinion that everyone should not last more than an hour. The point is, we've been in Parliament, they know them. So what is there that they need to know?
Then why, it begs the question, why vet them anyway?
We need to vet them
Because going on that logic, it means the vetting process is just ceremonial.
No.
So you will be approved anyway,
the vetting
so why go
process
through vetting?
is to be able to ascertain whether the person has the capacity to do the job.
Yeah.
If indeed that person doesn't have the capacity to do the job, then it is in our mandate to ensure that the person is not approved. But then many of the nominees are MPs. We've been working with them all these years. And for that matter, we know them personally. And we know that at least 1 or 2 or 3 people will be able to man a particular ministry. So if indeed we have this particular notion, why the waste of time?
Okay, yeah. Amwako, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I
briefly, and then
mean,
we get to
I think the whole point of vetting them beyond the appointments committee determining the capacity of the nominees to perform is for the people of Ghana to also be involved in the process. So I think it is absolutely in order for the nominees to be vetted for as long as is necessary. For the questions, I mean, some of them go to the credibility of the nominee, because yesterday we saw a lot happen at the vetting of the Honorable Sam George. I found it very interesting. Honestly, if I had my way, his would have taken 2 days as well, because there's a lot to unpack. The thing that shouted at me was the calling of Dr. Bawumia a religious prostitute, because that's something that has always disturbed me. And so that's what I actually intended to use my first minute for. Because we are essentially a secular country. I don't think Ghana is listed as a Christian or a Muslim. We're a secular country. So if a vice president is tolerant to all the 3 major groups, what is wrong with that? Isn't that what we should be emulating and commending him for having that religious tolerance and ushering in that new Ghanaian identity of having religious tolerance, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Christian, whether you ascribe to the traditional religion. That's something that should be encouraged, actually. But because of political expedience and to campaign, you go ahead to call the sitting vice president at that time a religious prostitute. And then you go on to almost refuse to take it back. I mean, I find that very interesting. And so these are things that Ghanaians have now been made aware of. And people are sitting around saying, oh, okay. But then if the current president, Honorable His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, goes to a mosque to pray with them, I saw him go to the chief imam and he goes to a church, all of that, there's no problem. But when the former vice president, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, does it, he's called a religious prostitute, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. Again, it comes to the kind of conversation and the words that we use against each other as politicians. Because if we are using these words against each other, then we shouldn't be surprised that people on social media will also find really nice things to describe us. So if we want to command respect, we have to start treating each other with respect.
Because of course, respect is earned.
Exactly.
So I get that point. I'll give you the last word before we get into the papers. Listening to both sides, what do you make of everything? You have some quick reflections, or should we go through?
Just to, in support of what Doc said, you see, I think the Constitution says that the President appoints ministers subject to the approval of Parliament. They have decided that they'll go by that approval by vetting. So that if rightly, like he says, you know the person, you can approve without necessarily vetting.
Like we saw for Lindo Klu, the
great because if exactly, because the essence of the vetting is to ascertain for yourself whether or not the person has the capacity to man the ministry. So if you know the person, like the MPs know some of them, then I think really they shouldn't waste their time and a time by it. But to conclude, you see, we want to build the right political culture, a culture that will tolerate diverse views. You understand? And I think the best way of showing ability to forge that culture is in what happens in Parliament. Under no circumstance should MPs be seen to show any level of intolerance towards any view or any situation in an unknown circumstance, should there be a sense that parliamentarians themselves cannot hold themselves accountable? You know, because in my view, that's the house of democracy,
right.
And that's where and they must reflect the positive cultures of democracy.
Well, we'll get even more surgical with this topic when you get to our big story segment. So please stay with us. Let's get into the newspapers, and I will start with the beautiful lady among us. Okay, let's get into your paper.
What am I seeing? That's interesting.
I see some NPP scandal, something.
Oh my God, sweetie.
I would love for you to start.
There are many other interesting. Okay. I'm seeing a cholera outbreak, 43 dead. That's something that's been going on for some time. Okay, so here's something you can do. Just give us the headlines. If you don't want to get into it, that's fine. But the headlines, and then we get. Okay. So this is the Daily Democrats. So we have Prof. Nana Opoku Ajemain calls for infrastructure investment to advance Africa's single market. We have MPP chairman linked to stolen gold scandal, which we should definitely wait for more information before we can pass judgment. Debate over Dr. Fusuan Pofo's appointment. I don't see why there's a debate. Disability community rallies behind Jacob Atule. I don't know if I butchered his name, sorry. Amid YEA appointment controversy. That's also something we've been seeing on social media, and I hope can be resolved quickly. Mahama appoints engineer Solomon Chumberima as MD for SIC. Then we have the Daily Searchlight. Close down Ghana's embassy in Washington and shut down U.S. embassy in Accra. Petition. Who has made that petition? Can we?
Yeah, let's get into that.
Let's see that. President John Dramani Mahama has been petitioned to close down the Ghana embassy in the United States and take steps to ask the government of the United States to remove its facilities in Accra. Why? The radical call is coming from Reverend Kwame Sefa Frimpong, who describes himself as the General Overseer and Secretary General of the Fulfillment Power International Ministry and National Association of Concerned Clergy based in Kumasi. The petition, which was copied to the Daily Searchlight, is dated 27th January 2025 and directed to the Office of the President, the Republic of Ghana, Flagstaff House, Accra. The subject is petition for the withdrawal of the Ghanaian embassy in the United States concerning deportation matters.
All right. I thought as much.
Yeah,
about the deportation.
So too, well, I guess that's something we can get into later. The cholera that I spoke about earlier. So I think it might be spreading out of the western region. Let me just find
yesterday I heard we had recorded 2 or 3 people dead. Last year was 21. So it looks like the death toll coming out of this cholera outbreak is increasing. Although we have vaccines now. I think there's also some skepticism about people taking the vaccines because they're not sure really what it does for them. People generally, I think, are anti-vax, so there has to be an intentional orientation. But over to you, gentlemen. What do you make of this outbreak of cholera? Maybe you can give us a little bit of context.
Okay, so Ghana's cholera outbreak has so far claimed the lives of 43 persons and a total of 480 infections, the Ghana Health Service has said. The cholera outbreak, which hit the country in October 2024, has spread to 5 regions now, including Greater Accra, Central, Western, Eastern, and Ashanti. Data from the Ghana Health Service indicate that as of January 21st, 2025, 30 persons were on admission at various hospitals. So I think that's big.
Dr. Nyako.
Yes, please.
Your thoughts on this cholera outbreak and the death toll? Did you say 40-something?
43.
Yeah,
that's a huge number.
Yeah.
And especially so when that is preventable. I think we need to rather push more for healthcare delivery to set up, especially so when we are privy to the fact that it's spreading. So if it's spreading, what steps can we take to be able to ensure that it does not go beyond the 43 people? And I want to use this opportunity to also express my condolences to members who have lost their loved ones through cholera. I think that we need to push more. And then this is a very good opportunity for me to also ask members of parliament to expedite the vetting of the Minister of Health designate so that he'll be able to get onto his job and then make sure that all these things will be kept. I'm of the view that we are also members that are not being prudent with the way we live, especially so with health issues around ourselves. We are the ones that are always putting rubbish all around it. We just put refuse all around ourselves, and these are things that can also generate in whatever we are experiencing at the moment. So I also think that when we look more at how we can manage our rubbish, how we can manage how we dispose of rubbish, and how we can really take away or transport them to specific designated areas where we will not be able to have such negative effects on us. I think that will also be very good. And I will also urge the Minister of Local Government to also look at how they can resource all these respective constituencies or metropolitan assemblies so that they'll be able to have all these containers to make sure that all rubbish are disposed of appropriately so that we will not be able to have access to.
Are you up to date on how your region or your constituency, because I hear the central region is part, in fact, that's where we started hearing of the death cases.
It started in Takoradi.
It started in Takoradi, right?
It started with the Western region.
Are you Western region? Yeah. But I mean, Cape Coast is right, you know, in the central region. Are you updated, on what's happening, how they're treating it?
Well, we are not really privy to the number of people that have passed in the central region yet. I think once I read through the bulletin, I'll be able to capture that. Right. But as the number keeps rising, I think it's very disturbing, and there's a need for us to look at how best we can curb it.
Yeah, I think the cholera issue, the perennial cholera issue, is a
perennial.
Yeah, well, something you can predict that next year, another.
Just like flooding, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think it's a massive reflection of our failure of leadership. Because it's not just a health issue, it's also a sanitation issue, it's also lack of regulation. Because if I'm to expand the duty of government to protect our lives, then that duty will also include that government takes steps to ensure that all issues that can impact the quality of my life, that can impact my life as in my dying, you understand, must be dealt with, and must be dealt with deliberately. As in, we have failed to actualize one of the fundamental visions of our constitution, to have a truly decentralized system. So because of that, there's a whole confusion as to who handles our sanitation issues. The regulator isn't doing much to ensure that food that we eat are wholesome. You understand? And for me, everything that we have done has created a situation where if we do not take care, cholera would also become something that threatens our very existence. And I think that we must be deliberate. We must ensure that beyond it being a health issue, we see it for what it really is. And an issue that goes beyond just health, but an issue that also goes or ventures into issues pertaining to sanity, pertaining to sanitation, to proper regulation of what's called the food people sell and all. So for me, is like I said, is a fundamental failure of our system, and I think we need to tackle it holistically. Otherwise, every year we'll be talking about it, but nothing will be done.
I'll give you the final word, though.
Yeah, so I just did a quick search because I do remember that the numbers we were seeing from cholera outbreaks were much higher. So I guess that's something we have to, I don't know if the word is to say commend, because the numbers have dropped significantly. We used to be in the 3,000s and now it's about 400.
Thanks to the vaccine, I hear.
Not just that, because I don't think we do routine cholera vaccine. It's when there's an outbreak and then we set into vaccinate. But it looks like maybe a combination of more access to healthcare is helping to bring down the numbers. One thing that I didn't get to when I was reading it is it seems that the former Director General of the Ghana Health Service thinks that it was imported. The initial cases were probably imported from across our borders. So it just goes to show how issues like this have, they involve multiple facets. I mean, if it was truly imported, that means we need more surveillance at the borders, so that when we put in so many measures to make progress, we are not derailed. Again, I think my condolences are to those who've lost their lives and those who are currently in the hospital undergoing treatment. I'm very confident that the medical team in Ghana would do the best they can for them.
Someone is saying that this girl is too nice to be representing politicians. Dr. Kiamako, that's you. But let's get into your paper now, Abia Dankwa.
Yeah. So, I think the headline is Constitution must inspire trust, says the President of Ghana. And then AG abandons appeal against that to forcing. Ghana will be Africa's AI hub in 4 years. And the African Prosperity Dialogue says create single market to provide jobs for youth. I think the topic that obviously captures my interest is the Constitution must inspire trust, and with the permission, I will just go through it.
Yesterday we saw that the committee was sworn in. Yeah, it was a short and very straight to the point ceremony. I like that. Yeah. And Shamima, congratulations again. Yeah, she's doing a good start to the job, Shamima.
Oh, she's a...
No, she sort of emceed or moderated the whole session. You know, she's deputy spokesperson to the president now. Oh, yes, she is.
Oh, congrats.
Yes, she is. Yeah.
She did top post.
I mean, she for chop. She really she fought the NPP boot for boot. So of course. Let's get into the
so President John Dramani Mahama has charged the newly instituted Constitutional Review Committee to embark on a nationwide engagement with citizens from diverse backgrounds to ensure that the constitutional review process is inclusive and representative of all Ghanaians. The President emphasized that the Constitution must be a unifying force, inspiring trust, and providing a framework for a more just, equitable, and prosperous society. This Constitution must belong to all of us. It must inspire trust. It must unite us. It must provide a framework for a more just, inclusive, and prosperous Ghana. President Mahama said. President Mahama gave the charge yesterday when he saw members of the Constitution at a short ceremony at the presidency in Accra. So,
you're a lawyer. This definitely interests you.
Yeah, obviously. And let me say that our Constitution is a great one. Our Constitution is a great one, and our Constitution is set upon all the rights, values, and principles. And obviously, the focus is also excellent. The focus is to protect our lives, to protect our liberties, and to protect and to guarantee our rights to pursue our own happiness. I think the biggest problem with the Constitution, in my view, is the people of Ghana. I'm not saying it's perfect, because you take a country like the US, where their Constitution has less than 30 articles and a few amendments. And that Constitution has served them very well for over 300 years. And you can fairly see that their society is a society that is fairly free and just. You go to a place like the UK where they don't even have a written constitution, and yet they can tell you that what you are doing is unconstitutional, because essentially the constitution is supposed to represent a set of values and principles whose focus, like I said earlier, is to protect our lives, protect our liberties, and to protect our right to pursue our own happiness. Having said that, I think there are a few issues within the Constitution that needs to be reviewed. For me, one of the critical things that comes to mind easily is the issue that borders on the perception that governments witch hunt their political opponents. And I think when Nana Addo became president, he excited all of us with the idea of the Office of the Special Prosecution. My personal view is that I think we got it wrong in so far as the framework that was supposed to deliver that kind of independent prosecutor was concerned. Because under our Constitution, all prosecutorial powers have been given to the Attorney General. Attorney General is appointed by the President. So the view was that the President can direct or influence how
they say that the President has too much powers.
Exactly. Now, my view is that instead of creating the Office of a Special Prosecutor by an act of Parliament, you understand, and without and simply making him like a sort of an agent of the AG, my view meant that you couldn't have an OSP that was truly independent. So I think that it is important that we have somebody independent that can handle some of these political, what's called corruption issues. I think to do that, the Constitution itself is to create that body. That's the Office of the Special Prosecutor. So that's one of the reviews I think ought to be done. Also, I think we must also have a look at this issue of whether or not to have the Minister for Justice and the Attorney General
decoupled.
I think we need to have a critical look at it. And then I think another very critical issue that we must have a look at, in my view, is whether or not we should have a strict separation of powers, or we should go along with this joint system we have now. I know people who argue for the system would make reference to what happened in 1979 constitution where we had straight separation. But once again, I think that my view is one of the biggest reasons why our constitution we seem to be struggling is not because of the constitution itself, but it's because of the people, the human beings.
Right.
We need a certain level of integrity to make this system work. So I think I need to commend the president for taking this constitutional review exercise seriously. For me, it's not because the constitution is wrong, but after almost a generation having worked with I think
we've done 32 years.
Yes, with this, and we see some of the few issues. My view is that the biggest issue is the people themselves.
Okay.
But having said that, we can look at the people and then look at the constitution and then see.
So what I'm hearing is the constitution has served us well, but we need to review. But it also sounds as if the review committee have their work cut out for them. In fact, they have just 6 months to come up with a comprehensive report and what needs to be done. Dr. Mako.
Honestly, I think on this issue, I want to wait and see what recommendations they come up with, because, I mean, if a system is not broken, why go around trying to fix it? So
you don't think it needs fixing because it's not broken?
What exactly are they setting out to rectify in the Constitution? I don't think there's been a huge uproar about any stipulations in the 1992 Constitution that would require one of the first things the new president to do is to set up a constitutional review.
This process started way back, somewhere in 2013 or so, right?
Yes.
And so if there was no need for us to review the
personally, I don't see
conversation
exactly what they are setting out to do. I've heard people talk about it being to remove that clause that's enshrines that the president appoints from parliament. You know, I've only heard issues that there's not like a national consensus that this is a problem, so we need to fix it. So I'm just thinking, I mean, in the first 1 month of office, when we have so many other issues, if this is not the biggest problem, why are we focusing on this?
Because the body politic runs on this constitution.
Yeah, but if you can't just change a constitution just because it's old.
Hold on. Latter part of last year, we saw that impasse when Apenyo Maki ran to the Supreme Court seeking interpretation for some provisions. There are certain instances where it appears we need more clarity on some of these laws.
But do you agree
and who implements what and who does. And in fact, it can come all the way down to socioeconomic and social development issues like what we define as rape. Per the Constitution, a man cannot be raped, technically. It talks about penetration and all that. You see, there are certain things in there that is why they've set up a committee to just look at it holistically and
see if we
pick out the things that need to be reviewed and then see how we can approach it.
Granted, but you know, even if we get a new constitution in 6 months, there's still going to be we're still going to go to the Supreme Court over interpretation because it's not everything that will be agreed. You're not going to get a consensus of the whole country on the constitution.
You don't think we need a
That's why we have the Supreme Court. No, it's not that I'm saying I don't think we need it. I don't think it is at the top of the priority list. Personally, because I've not seen anyone come up with, okay, so these are the problems, maybe A, B, C, D. Are the problems we have in the current constitution, and so let's set out to amend them.
There was a constitution review committee, and I remember the name of the leader. It was a woman. God help me, I've forgotten the name. I'll fish it out for you.
Yeah, and then
they came out with what needs to the work
that
plenty issues.
And what happened with that committee?
Okay.
I don't know. I just feel like, again, that's why I said on this matter, I would just want to see what they come up with.
Okay. Let me throw that to Dr. Minton.
Well, thank you. I am thinking that it is appropriate for us to proceed with a constitutional review. And then that was started by the late Professor Mills. Yeah. And then unfortunately he wasn't able to get along with it because of his sudden demise.
Yeah.
And then at the time, it was President Mahama who was a vice. And then he couldn't have that time to also take through. And I'm of the view that now that he's back, he is of the opinion that it's appropriate for us to do that. Let me give you a very interesting story. In Parliament, and we had 20 women in Parliament, and then this issue of who inherits what from a man came up, and then the ladies were asked that they wanted to review it, that if a man stays with a woman, whether a married man or a married man stays with a lady for 5 years, automatically they become married couples. And then if the man dies, the lady has access to the inheritance. Then the ladies were, no, what about the issue of side chicks? My man is living with a side chick for 5 years and he dies. She has access to my stuff.
But isn't that common law marriage? Yeah.
They don't see the essence for that. So the women were against it. Now we have to come on and then identify exactly what should come in to be able to say that if you live with a man or you don't live with a man at this stipulated number of years, you are entitled or otherwise
I thought
not
the
entitled.
interstate succession law sort of, sorts that out.
Good, but that is part of the Constitution. We need to understand, as you said, Afenyo was seeking for interpretation. For what? It's in the Constitution. So why is he seeking for further interpretation? If indeed what is there clearly spells out exactly what has to happen. You see, the consistent desire to get to know what the spirit of the Constitution is will always push us to go to the Supreme Court for interpretations. And remember, interpretations are very subjective. And then I could say A, he could say B, she could say C.
Yeah.
And if you are not able to get that particular point, indicating that indeed this is where we are going, then definitely we need to do that. Again, we are 33 years since the Constitution came into power, and I think we are not static. We are not an island. We live with social human beings. We've gone through so many processes. Many things have been reviewed. So what stops us from also looking at how we can review the Constitution?
Right. So what I was
once we do that,
for,
Prof was asking, Doc was asking, what is the really peculiar reason for...
And I just found that.
All right.
So you see, there was, because I remember watching it on Newsfile. I just couldn't remember the name. So there was a Constitution Review Consultative Committee. And the report was submitted to former President Akufo-Addo. And he even said he would forward it with his notes to the incoming, at that time, he was president-elect. And they're saying that among key recommendations is the removal of Article 68, Clause 5, which exempts presidents from paying taxes on their salaries and emoluments. Now, the person I was looking for is Kasati, Clara Kasati. That is the chair of that committee. And the committee believes that scrapping this exemption will set a positive example for citizenry to uphold the principle of equality before the law. And it goes on and on. They have the recommended priority list for consideration, like cap on the appointment of ministers of state, the number of members of parliament, constituencies, Articles 78 and 93. Those are the ones that need review. They talk about election of MMDCEs, which is a very topical one. I think that we just toned down on that a bit because in the beginning of this month actually, it was heavy on everyone's mind, whether we should elect them along party lines or not. Yeah. And then they also talk about conditions of service of selected government officials, Article 71 office holders. So there are a lot of things in there that needs to be reviewed. We talk about National Development Planning Commission, what they're doing. Should we be restructuring? They talk about the functions of Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice. What qualifies as fundamental human rights? The story actually is on myjoyonline.com, so you can go there and read it for yourself. So I'm just saying that we've already had a consultative review committee who've come out with some priorities that needs to be looked at.
Yes,
and so that's the work that this committee
were not put into action. They were not used, and now we are setting up another committee to go and look into the same constitution.
No, more like pick up from where the consultative committee left off.
I mean, isn't there some redundancy in this matter? I mean, now that you're actually showing me that there's actually been a committee that's come up with recommendation, nothing was done with the recommendation, and now we're starting over.
Okay, so I'm just saying that it's a continuous process.
We are revisiting.
Right?
Yeah. Revisiting.
Just like the anti-LGBTQ,
Oh, that's
bill
another issue.
That yesterday even came up during some George's.
I only have one question for the Honorable Sam George again. So you knew that at that point when you were campaigning, the members of the NDC have always said they knew they were winning. So you knew you were winning. And so the bill was going to expire. But I think it was just a few weeks before the election, he said he would, President Mahama will have no peace till he signs the bill. So was that all optics and antics for the election or what? Because if at that point you knew that the bill you are talking about is going to expire and you are going to have to do everything again, was that just political talk?
It didn't expire because, well...
And you see, even that it's a convention.
Parliament passed the bill.
Yes, Parliament passed the bill.
We got to the clerk's table, was supposed to be passed from his table to the president... To assent. And then,
there were Supreme Court issues.
And I think that's the biggest story is that the president of Ghana decided not to do anything
No, the last Supreme Court
but that's the biggest story.
I think it came to an end somewhere like 17 December. At that point, you were telling the government not to issue payments, not to employ people, but he should have sent to a bill.
It's not about. No,
I'm just saying. You said basically he should not do anything because he's lost
it's not about what they are saying. The people of Ghana gave the president a mandate from 7th January 2021 to 6th January 2024. So it's not an argument to say I did not do what I was mandated to do because they were telling me. In spite of what they were telling him, around 1st January he issued over 100 licenses to miners. So for me, I think the biggest story, you see, because he deliberately ensured that So that's the biggest story. The biggest story is not something.
The application he cited had not been actually filed at the time that the president
cited
that
as a human rights
as a reason why he couldn't accept
that a bill like that was going to come up against serious human rights.
And so the constitution that the constitution that he took an oath to protect gave him a procedure by which and that procedure said, listen, receive the bill, make your notes, confer with, he gave him the procedure, but the president, against the clear terms of the oath he himself took. So for me, the biggest story is not what some judge said during campaign. The biggest story is that the president of Ghana, a president we chose, a president who took an oath, at that time, president of Ghana, who took an oath to protect, defend, and preserve the constitution, in spite of the terms of those clear terms, went against the constitution, and that's the biggest story. So I find it very surprising.
To the bill while there was a case in the Supreme Court.
What I'm saying is that
hold on for me. Let me hear you out.
You see, the point I'm trying to make is that the constitution, because like you all rightly said, at a time when he refused to even receive the assent, there was no what's called application before the court. Also, the constitution has given clear direction, has prescribed how a disagreement with the bill ought to be done. You understand? It is a shame and is one of the biggest indictments on this our democracy that the president who took an oath not only to preserve but also to defend the constitution will act in a manner adverse to the clear terms of the constitution, and that is the bigger story, not what some judge said on the campaign platform.
Dr. Mintanyako, let me hear your thoughts on this.
I'm surprised Doc is trying to defend the former president.
No, he's not defending. Okay, Dr.
I'm just making my point.
I'll come to you last because, you know, it's more like this is about you and your administration, so hold on for me.
Her point was that the document did not get to the president.
Yeah.
I don't know where she's getting that from, anyway. But as my friend was saying, I think it's just appropriate that indeed, if you are not really in tune with whatever is being presented on your table, you make notes of what you don't like.
Yeah.
And that is a prerogative of the president.
Yeah.
Once the president has this document, it's okay, A, B, C, D, and E, I don't want it. Or I want further clarification. So I want to send it to a particular committee to look at it and see whether it's appropriate for me to assent. Once that gets there, then you have the opportunity to assent. He deliberately decided to not assent. And that's what he did. And you know what? And I think it's something that is been tabled on the table of the president. Now, and I know for sure, because his stand has always been clear, that he's not in favor of it. And for that matter, he's going to ensure that he would assent. So now, we know it has expired. We need to take it back to Parliament, table it on the...
has it really expired?
Yes, it has. So we have to take it back in there.
If Parliament passed that bill, has it expired?
Yes, because the time that the president was supposed to assent, it did not. The president failed to assent. And for that matter, we need to take it back and then table it for some number. But the point is there's not going to be any moderations or anything or amendments. If indeed we take it to the table of the president and he thinks that we need to amend A, B, C, D, it will come back to Parliament and that will be done.
Well, I've been told I have just about 3 minutes and then we'd have to go. But I know Alban Bagbian is saying that he's going to consult Dr. Dominic Ayene to see how to actually move this bill forward.
Yeah.
Well, as I said, the former president, I think it was prudent that he waited for all the matters with the Supreme Court to be resolved before even considering the bill. And if you look at how much time was left, realistically, when a bill reaches the table of the president, it definitely takes some time before it gets to his attention. In any case, our administration is over. So now it is on you. I don't expect the new president, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, to consider to consider making changes. He said he was going to assent to the bill. It was one of your campaign promises.
Sure.
So now you have to show leadership. And let me just put out, I did find a lot of human rights problems with the bill. So it's not like I'm advocating for it. I'm just advocating for the NDC to do what they campaigned on.
Well, I'm saying that the president will look out for whatever he thinks is not appropriate to be with the bill. And then we will have to take it and
At
then
that
work
time,
on
you
it.
didn't know they were
Okay, let's end
thinking.
it there. The Ghanaian Times, just some quick headlines to leave you with. The Ghanaian Times newspaper, engage widely with citizens. President urges Constitutional Review Committee. I think we've got into that already. Safety of GMOs will be evaluated. Environment Minister designates. AG and Minister of Justice withdraws charges against Dr. Ampofo Kwekubuahin. Will protect Ghanaian workers from mistreatment. Labour Minister designates. And I like that. What he said about changing what we call the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. He said we should call it, I think, productivity and remuneration or something of the sort, which sort of encompasses what really, Fair Wages and Salaries Commission are supposed to do, whatever your inputs, what your inputs should determine your output in terms of remuneration. The Custodian newspaper, let's have options before banning plastic use, according to Butala Mohammed. Apenyo Markin grills Mohammed's boy. Is he Mohammed's boy? Over CJ anti-gay bill. Mahama swears in 8-member Constitution Review Committee and African Prosperity Dialogue 2025. Africa needs technology for prosperity. UN Resident Coordinator. These are just some headlines. Pick a copy of the papers for yourself and get into it. Gentlemen and lady, I'll give you each a minute for your final remarks and then we are off. Let me start with you, Apia Dankwa.
So my final remark is, like always, all we have is this democracy. That's the only way in which we can guarantee for ourselves our lives, our right to life, liberty. So let us do everything in our power to sustain it. And we can only sustain it if we create a rights culture. And that, in my view, that leadership lies on government, especially parliament. So we should not be seeing acts where they show clear intolerance and attack accountability. Let us come together and build a very strong nation.
Thank you. Dr. Ikia Mwako. Someone says, I can't forget that comment. She's too fine to be doing politics.
That we'll discuss later. I think on that note, I will agree with you. We need to be more accountable and more tolerant of each other. And another thing is to not make statements without proof. Because let me just digress quickly. Yesterday, it's just because of my excitement to see the Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa being vetted today, because there are a lot of allegations that I hope he has evidence for and can explain today. Because yesterday, Honorable Sam George couldn't provide any evidence to some of the allegations that were made about gold being smuggled out and whatnot. So, because people expect what comes out from certain people to just be gospel. They take it, they see you make a post on X, and they take it as gospel. So let's just be more responsible and only put out things that we verified as the truth.
Thank you. Dr. Mintanyako, you have the final word.
Right, thank you very much. I am also of the opinion that we need to build more emotional intelligence. I think that's what is happening in Parliament. A lot of people are not really tolerant to be able to embrace certain things that are true at them. And if you're able to have that emotional intelligence and be more tolerant, I'm sure the embarrassing event that happened yesterday or early this morning wouldn't have happened. But I'm also of the view that there's the need for us to also look at how we can develop our character, especially across Ghana. It's very important because we are not able to decipher exactly what epitomizes who we are and our ability to really appreciate things that go around us. If you're able to do that, that will also help us to go in a very good direction. The paper I have in front of me, if I need to digress a bit.
Just the headlines, yeah.
Yes. The news center was talking about Senior Husi Defense MFR Hardcastle calls for humility for MPs. Northern voter NDC supporters angry over skewed appointment. Lodina is not influencing appointments. And mobile money hit record Ghana, that's 3 trillion. But then what happens to e-levy?
Question for the board. And then, Dr. Kwamena, well, we have from my immediate left, Andrew Apia Dankwa, legal practitioner and spokesperson for Movement for Change. Dr. Ikia Mwako, Member of Parliament for the member of the NPP Communication. I'm just prophesying. You're going to Parliament. And then Dr. Kwamena Mintanyako, Member of Parliament for Cape Coast North. Thank you all for joining us for the news review segment. I just want to say good morning to my friend Seto at Beacon International School. She's in a very good mood this morning. Hi, Seto. Please stay. Sports comes up next. Thank you.
Welcome to this Joy Sports special. My name is Daniel Crankton. Today our guest is Black Stars forward and LA Galaxy player Joseph Pinto. Joe, Charlie, thanks for joining us.
Bless, bro. Bless.
I'm sure this is the longest holiday or winter holiday you've had as a professional since you started.
Yeah, it is. But it was also a short period for me because I need to do some things also in Belgium. So some things were really impromptu. I need to book my flight, go stay there for 1 week, make sure everything is really done. And I just came back again, just spent some 4 days, and I just need to travel again back to Belgium, spend some days, and then back to business in LA.
Wow, very, very, very hectic.
Yeah.
LA Galaxy. First of all, sorry, congratulations.
Thank
congratulations,
you.
you're a champion.
Thank you.
Your
Thank
first
you.
season in the MLS, you were a champion. Just, you've played now, you've played in Europe, you've played in the MLS. What are the differences like?
The only difference is how popular Europe is, and the only difference is in MLS is, you know, they don't really take, like we call it, like football like in Europe. They call it like in, I think, soccer.
Yeah.
So it's not something that is really something big, but they are more into basketball and this handball or what they call it.
Baseball.
Yeah, baseball and all these kind of things. Now that the football is really getting to be known, especially among the people in the United States. So I think that's the only difference, because it's the same football, but just that it's just how they call it in two different countries.
You're doing so well in Belgium, very, very well. In fact, if you look at your last full season in Europe, across, when you compare to what Ghanaian forwards did in Europe, you were top 3 ranked in terms of goals and assists. Most people in that transfer window, most of us suspected you would make a bigger step in Europe, then you went to the MLS. What informed that decision? Why LA Galaxy? Why MLS?
Yeah, I think it was the right decision that I made. I never regretted it. As you can see, I am a champion. So, there was some clubs that were really interested, but you know, sometimes it's not only about playing in Europe. It's also about playing and also making sure that everything that is surrounding you is really being taken care of. You know, football is football, no matter where you find yourself at. You have Neymar, you have Messi, you have Ronaldo, you have Baby Jet, you have Marco, you have, you know, all these kind of players. They just left Europe and they just back in the States. Some of them are in other countries. But playing in another country, that doesn't mean that it's not a country for footballers. It's a country that also love football, so you being there is a plus. So I just made my decision to play in the United States because it was the right decision, and I didn't make it alone. I made it with my twin sister and my mom. Especially, it just came at the AFCON, so I was like, yeah, why not? If it's a good deal for me, why not? So I just took it, and yeah.
Nice. Let's. I'll talk more about like culture. So when you look at Europe, and you alluded to it earlier on, the fact that Europe football is the biggest thing there. So it's more serious business. In America, it's not too popular. They just go about their football. Yeah. You play in LA. LA is like the glamour city in America. How is it like when you go to day-to-day training? You are seeing all these stars around. We saw in the MLS last season. Serena Williams, Kim Kardashian, them were visiting stadium, obviously because of Messi and co. But you live in LA. People like Zlatan have played for Galaxy, David Beckham have played for Galaxy. The stars love the LA teams, and obviously with basketball, with the LA Lakers and co. How is it like juggling day-to-day football life when you see all these superstars almost every day?
Yeah, it's really fun. It's really exciting, especially you seeing these popular people in the stands. It gives you the extra energy to do more, because you just want them to know exactly who you are also, you know, because even with that kind of connection, it can give you a favor for you to be connected with them, you know, especially when you play very well and they really like you, you know, they will be commenting about you and they will be saying good stuff about you, and you know, it's a plus playing in the United States, because it's a really great opportunity for not only footballers but a lot of people, because it creates a lot of opportunity, like with musicians, with football, with basketball. It makes the community really come together, especially. So we seeing them on the at the bench or maybe at the stands. It really makes us feel really proud and always want us to give a lot of energy, especially when we are playing, because you know, seeing Zlatan, we have Donovan was also there.
Yeah.
The final, a lot of players were there, all players were there, so you know, it gives you that kind of feeling to give extra. So it's really a plus thing, and I'm really excited that I found myself being in LA and everything is moving on really good.
Let's talk briefly about your Black Stars career. Most Ghanaians didn't necessarily know you before you hit the Black Stars scene. You played briefly here, then you went abroad. But in the season leading up to the World Cup, you were literally one of the best players in terms of Ghanaian players playing abroad. The season, that was 2021-22 season. At the end of that, you did brilliantly well. At the start of the 22-23 season also, you were banging in goals, assists. And then you missed out on the World Cup. We've spoken to ex-Black Stars players who have missed out on World Cups and how painful it is. What was going through your head when you were told you were not going to be part of the 23?
It was strange. I was unhappy, but you know, I need to always accept the outcome that always comes. You know, we are, you know, millions of Ghanaians who wants to play football, and you know, the coaches make their own decision, the staffs, everybody make their own decision to take whoever they want to take. It's their own decision that they make. I have no say. All I have to do is just to focus and just doing my best whenever I'm being called. But I felt really disappointed, sad. But you know, this is life, you know. Sometimes what you want is not what you get. And sometimes in God's way, maybe it wasn't the right time for me also. But at the end of the day, you know, there's more World Cups ahead. And I wish and I hope that if we qualify for the next World Cup, I might be part of the team. But I was really disappointed and really sad at that moment, because I didn't know what happened. But you know, it is what it is. Football can be ups and downs, disappointments, and you know, failure and everything. But for me, it was something different.
Yeah.
But I really need to accept it.
JP, I need to ask you this, because during the squad announcement in Accra, I asked the head coach, Otuado, why you specifically were not in the team. Then he told me it was he had a private conversation between the two of you, and he wasn't going to tell me the reason. And then I asked again, and he basically said, I should come and ask you. So
he said you'd come and ask me?
Yes, he said he wouldn't
Was it
tell me.
before the World Cup, right?
Yeah, before the World Cup. He said he wouldn't tell me what he told you, but if I really wanted to know.
When he was calling the players?
Yes. So I'm asking, what reasons did he give you as to why? Because from what we sit, when we look at the footballing reasons, you look at attackers, you look at the numbers that they generate, we think you should have been in the squad. But what reasons were given you as to why you were left out?
Oh, that's... It's not easy. He said you should come and ask me. Yeah, the same reason as he gave to all the players. Like what I said in my interview when I was interviewed in our preseason in Genk. That was exactly the same thing that he said, you know. But you know, it's you know, it's something really strong for me to say now, because yeah, it's bygone. So I just wanted to pass, and you know, we just focusing on the future, because if I really talk now, maybe it's gonna be something different, and people are gonna, you know, also react on it. I know they need answers, but like what I said in the interview, like the last time I said about not being goals and assists, you know, and all these kind of things. Yeah, like it's what's in the papers. Like what I said, like football is not all about goals and assists. You know, it's a little bit strange for me. You know, because as a coach, if you need players who's gonna help the team, is players based on performance and how good they were in their season. And if a coach tells you football is not about goals and assists, then what is it about then? I'm not a defender though. But you know, I just need to accept it and just move forward. I'm not gonna lie, so it is what it is. You know, I need to accept it, but it's bygone be bygone. What has passed has passed. We solve our differences and we just focus on the better Ghana and the right phase for us to pass so that we can make the Ghana Blasters a better place and where we need to be as Blasters few years back. So we need to just make it happen and just put what has happened at our back and just focus on the next.
Okay, so in the spirit of focusing on the immediate tournament that followed was the AFCON. That one you made the squad. You played the first game. You were impressed in the first game. And then the funny thing is, I don't know if you've known, obviously, you know this is your career. You've played 2 AFCONs for the Black Stars. You've played the opening game of both AFCONs. You've impressed in the opening game of both AFCONs. Yes, the second game you are benched.
We have to ask them. We have to ask them. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know exactly what's going on. And you know, like I said, it's their decision. It didn't happen once, it happens twice. Yeah. So if these things are... Coaches. Yeah. But it's their own decision. I need to respect it. As a player, I cannot go forth and back with them. It's not like me being in LA Galaxy and the coach does this to me and I need to approach the coach and be like, why did you do this? Why did you do this? You know? Because in all, there were no tangible reason for doing that. But I'm not the only player. I'm not the best player in the team. Everyone is not the best player. We are all contributing and making Ghanaians proud. So if I do something that Ghanaians have really, you know, accepted me now because of what they've seen, that's what I need to show them because that's the most important thing. I will always do what I need to do for Ghanaians and the people who love me and even the people who hate me. I will just do whatever that is possible. For me, I will just put on my strength and whenever I'm being called, I will just give my best and just do my best for the country. But whatever that has happened, it has really happened. 2 AFCONs, playing first game, bench second game, 2 times. It's football. It's something that I cannot do anything about.
The difference between the 2 AFCONs was you were brought back into the starting lineup for the last game. That's in Côte d'Ivoire, early 2024, and then you were subbed at halftime. We were leading 2-0, considered 2 last-minute goals, ended up crashing out of the tournament.
Oh, that game.
And yes, that game. And then the head coach said he subbed you at halftime due to fatigue. You had played 90 minutes, you hadn't played the second game, then you played 45 minutes in the first half, and you were fatigued. That's why you were taken off. Were you told that I'm taking you off because I think you are tired?
No, there was no such communication.
So when was the first time you heard that was the reason why you were subbed?
After the game, after the press. That's when I heard. But I didn't know anything about me being fatigued in the dressing room or me being subbed because I'm fatigued. No one came to me and tell me, oh, Joseph, it's because you are tired, that's why I take you out.
No, were you tired?
I wasn't. If I was, I would have told them. At least, but no one told me anything. No coach came to me and be like, hey, Joseph, because of this, that's why we took you out. You know, we also like communication.
Yeah.
Coaches always say they always love to communicate with their players. It's something that we players really likes. You need to come to us, communicate with us. This is the reason why I'm not using you. This is the reason why you are not playing. I'm not bigger than anybody. I will respect every decision, you know. I'm not bigger than anyone, even I'm not bigger. There are better players who are even better than me, but it's grace that has really brought me where I am now. So if someone needs to do something, then they need to just communicate. Like the coaches always said, oh, if you're a player, you need to communicate with the coach. What's wrong with you so that the coach can adapt things. That's the same way for them to also communicate with us. Because if you don't communicate with us, that's where the ups and downs always comes out because there was no communication. Nobody came to me and tell me anything. All of a sudden, I'm just out.
Let's talk about the future with the Black Stars. Now, when you mention the name Black Stars, Ghanaians are troubled. It's been poor result after poor result after poor result. From where you sit, when you sit in the dressing room and you look to your left, you look to your right, you see players playing in the Premier League, La Liga, Ligue 1, the best leagues in the world. Yet when you go on the pitch, you are not getting the result. What in the dressing room, what's the sort of conversation that goes on around with the playing body, not with the head coaches and anybody? When you guys are talking amongst yourself, what do you guys think the problem is?
Especially if the results are not coming.
Yes, when the results are not coming.
We are humans. We feel how Ghanaians feel. The disappointments is a lot. We understand, but now football is football. You cannot win every game. Black Stars used to be like Black Stars 10 years ago that, okay, if we meet this team, we are going to score them 4 and we will score 4 or 5. You have all these kind of players, Asamoah, great striker, you have Muntari, you have all these kind of people. They were doing all whatever they need to do, But, now there are a lot of changes. There are a lot of countries that you think maybe this is a small country, but it's not a small country anymore because every country have a player in Europe that is playing in Europe.
Yeah.
So if someone is playing in Europe, which means the country is still strong, if they have those kind of players. No matter how big players that you have or how strong that you have or something, sometimes it's all about luck. Sometimes it's all about hard working, communication and everything. And it doesn't mean that we are not doing that. We are doing it, but the results is not coming. It's like you always applying for a job. It doesn't come, but one day it always comes. You feel disappointed, people are going to bash you, insult you and all that kind of things. It's okay, we are used to all these kind of things. But it's also something that is also really sad for us whenever we go on the field to give our best for the nation that we always feel. We always think about it. People will think that, oh, we don't care. It's because we are playing in Europe, we come to our motherland and we don't give whatever we need to give. But trust me, if someone talks to each and every player, nobody comes from Europe or to the national team and say, oh, I'm just going to play whatever that I need to play and just go back. Because national team is also a trials for you. The more you perform, the more consistent you will be in the national team. Yeah. So if you're not performing, then someone is also going to take your place. Yeah. We feel really sad, really disappointed, but there's nothing we can do. The only thing we need to do is to just come up stronger and just fight for Ghanaians and just win this World Cup for them. Because now is the time for us to win the heart of Ghanaians with the World Cup. Because that's what they are really, they really want now. Yeah. So we need to work hard and just do everything that we need to do. And I know the players, my other colleagues, are really also thinking about the same thing. There's none other player who will be like, no, I don't think about the failure that we are messing up in the national team. I feel it, even though if I'm not there, some other players also feel it. Even our captains, they also feel it. Yeah. So it's something that we feel it. So Ghanaians should really keep supporting us no matter the ups and downs. We will always fight and do our best. But if the result is not coming, they should just, keep fighting for us.
You said something very interesting. You said we should trust you. It's not every player who comes in and thinks that, oh, they are just coming to give off something and go. So it means players come into the national team and they give a certain level of seriousness to the national team. That's from your point of view. But the notion from outside, when fans look into the stories around the team, is there harmony in that dressing room, that Black Stars dressing room? Do you guys get along really well in the dressing room?
Yeah, the players, we all get along. Especially, you can see, we always post videos of we dancing, having fun and all these kind of things. We are together. There's no separate group, let's say, oh, this group is like, okay, their own group and they don't care or all these kind of things. No, if it comes to football, we come together. But as an individual or something, everybody has his friend that he can communicate with, play games with. I also have Joseph Edu, Gideon Mensah, Ziggy, Amate, all these guys, we also, play Ludo and all these kind of things. So it's something that we all do that, Yeah. You have people that you play with. I'm really fluid with Kudus and Kamadin and all of the players. But that doesn't, people maybe think that, oh, maybe there's a division in the team. But since I came to the Blasters, I've never seen any division in the team since I really entered the Blasters. People outside are going to talk for sure. Maybe they've seen something that we've not seen. You understand? Yeah. But for me, being in the national team, since I started the national team, I've never witnessed or feel or really seen something like that before. I've never ever seen that. But if someone from outside have seen something like that, I don't know. I don't think it's really like true.
Let's talk about something really interesting. Your music career. First time I knew you did music was I think 2022 before the World Cup. That's when I saw one of your first songs. But you released one just before the MLS Cup final. That's Blessings.
Yes, please.
Yes. When did you start entering into music like full time?
Yeah, I really loved music when I was really young. I always lead worship when I was young in church.
Okay.
So it's been part of me.
What church?
I was attending House of Favor in Fadama, okay. Bombay. There's a small church there. It's called House of Favor. That's where I started. So I lead sometimes worship and praises sometimes, So it's something that I really love to. I love listening to worship song and all this kind of stuff. So it's something that I always wanted to do. Yeah. But it's not something that I want to do after my career. It's something I love to do. At least, to entertain myself and to entertain my fans that I have, the people that loves me and the people that hates me. Just to entertain them, So it's just something that I really love to do, and I'm still doing it. Today I just came from a shoot with Bisake Day. Okay. We already have a song, so we just shoot a video and the song is gonna come up so very soon. Yesterday was Goku Flake and Joe K. So there's a whole lot of things that are really coming on, just doing this for...
Do you write your own lyrics?
I do sometimes.
Okay. So the Blessings you wrote?
Yes, I do.
Nice. So as a footballer, how do you balance the two? Because I remember when you won the Western Conference or the Eastern Conference final, LA Galaxy posted it, the MLS account posted you guys celebrating with the song in the dressing room. How do you combine the two? Go into the studio, recording, writing music, whilst also going to train every day playing football?
Yeah, I always do it in my off days. Okay. So sometimes I do it when we have some few days, like since I didn't come to the national team, that's where I started to record it. Okay. So it was 2 times and I wasn't present in the national team due to injury. So I used that kind of, space for me to fill out what was left. So it's something that I've been doing it really more because I really concentrate on football. Yeah. But whenever we have some breaks, I sometimes love to do music. Even when we are done with training, football is done. So sometimes I record my music in my house. I have one guy who comes to my place and we record together. So it's something that I really love to do, and I don't really go too much into football whilst the season is on. Because when things are not going on, those are the same people who were praising you, be like, oh, I'm focused too much on football. We know them. I'm ready for them. They are going to do it. Even if I'm not saying this season is not going to be a good season. It's still going to be a good season. I'm going to do whatever I need to do. I will be scoring goals for sure. I wouldn't be sitting down doing nothing. But if things are not going on sometimes, footballers, we have ups and downs. If things are not going on sometimes, you have people that are going to criticize you. You need to accept it. Because without criticism, you cannot even move forward. You cannot even be the stronger player you have to be. Yeah. So you need to accept it and just move forward. No matter what they say, they just say it in social media. If they cannot come to you and say it to you, then you don't lose nothing. So whatever they say about me, and even if it doesn't go on and they say something about me, I accept it and just laugh at it, especially my PRO. Sometimes he sends me something, sometimes he just deletes them, without me knowing. But sometimes I just tell you, just leave it there. Even if I see it, I'm not really going to be mad. Yeah. If you insult my mom or something, I will be mad, but if you see me and you insult my mom, then I'm going to do with you, You can do it on social media because social media is free speech. You can do whatever that you want to do. It's acceptable, but it will never be acceptable when I see you face to face and you talk something bad about me or my family. It's not going to be something really fun.
You know, Gideon Mensah also does music.
Yeah, I know.
Asamoah played for Black Stars. He's also do music. Will you collaborate with any of your past or present?
Yeah, Gideon Mensah, he's my good friend. We talk a lot. I told him if he has some song, I can also hop in and all these kind of things. If he has something, he can also send it to me. And we are in good terms, so if he's ready, we will do it. But now I think with the calendar, it's a little bit difficult. Yeah. But whenever he has the time, whenever I have the time, we can always record. But we already talked about that. He's into the dancehall thing, and I can also do a little bit of dancehall, so I can also hop something into, because I have a song coming up. I'm waiting for Shatta to also release this, so I'm just waiting that it's gonna be very soon, because Shatta is really busy, guys. So just give him that time, and he's going to do it, because it's through Prince Tego that I met Shatta Wale. And Shatta Wale is such a humble soul that he just told me, hey, just send me the song and I'm gonna do something, you know. So he already has the song, so we're just waiting for the right moment for him to hop on the song and for me to release the song. That's all it is.
Let's talk about your musical influences. Growing up, you say you were a worship leader, so I'm sure gospel is where your base is. Who are some of the artists who have influenced you along the way?
Oh, Cecilia Mafo, Celestine, something Celestine. Donko, yeah. You know, all these old and worship nation worshiper. I forgot the guy with the arms cut, the nation worshiper.
Yeah, I think I know what to do.
Yeah. There's a lot, and there are some few young ladies who are on the YouTube always singing gospel songs. I really like it, and I have something that I want to do this year, to do a crusade for all the gospel musicians, to just do it in one place, for just people to just come and worship, and you know, sometimes it's good for you to all do that kind of thing. It's not always about with kids and all this kind of thing. It's good, but I've made my mind and plans that maybe this year, after doing my every year thing that I do, I will add this kind of things, so that you have some gospel musicians there to also sing for people, to also be in the spirit and have their healings and be in the spirit to do whatever that they want to do. So it's also part of something that I will do this year.
Okay, JP, I'm going to play a quick game. 2 very quick games. First one. Name your all-time Black Stars 5-a-side. So past and present. Goalkeeper and then 4 other players.
Goalkeeper?
Yeah.
All time, including the old ones?
Including the old ones, past and present.
Yeah, I would just, for me, I would take Ziggy.
So Ziggy in post?
Yeah, Ziggy in post.
So 4 other players, outfield?
I would take, is it John Mensah?
Captain, Rock of Gibraltar.
Yes.
John Mensah.
Asian.
2 more.
Hey, I got 2.
Yeah.
I don't know why you're 8.
5-a-side, goalkeeper, 4 players.
I didn't have 5-a-side.
So Ziggy in post. Ziggy in post, John Mensah, ACN.
Ziggy.
John Mensah, ACN.
John
Mensah. 2 top or another midfielder and a striker?
No, I need to play 1 defender, 1 midfielder, like the 2.
Yeah. 5-a-side, so one defender, 1 midfielder, 2 strikers.
Akatupe. Asamoah.
Last one.
You see that I take hey Person but two strikers, maybe five, maybe Prince Teguan, I say be sure. Yeah, coach, I come on. So serious. I think Antoniana.
Antoniana. You know the people you've left out.
I know a lot too.
No, I made it Pele.
Oh, how can we? He be the best one. Who better me also come? Oh no, me Timo, but
so I believe he's different, guy.
He's different. He's like Charlie. I really dear Charlie.
I understand. Okay, JP, in the Black Star Square camp, where you going to camp? Who is the funniest person in camp?
Who else than Gideon? This guy is crazy.
Gideon Mensah.
He's built different. He's built different.
Interesting.
Especially when I'm there, I don't breathe. Really, I don't breathe. Gideon, nah.
Let's talk about the quietest person in camp. He doesn't talk at all.
Jordan really doesn't talk too much.
I'm not surprised. I don't think anybody watching this will be surprised.
Yeah, Jordan doesn't really talk too much. Yeah, I think so.
I think it's Jordan, right?
Jordan and Inyake maybe because of the tree. So yeah. I understand, but I think the rest, no, I think Jordan doesn't really talk too much.
Who is that teammate that nobody wants to cross? Like you are afraid to offend him?
Afraid to offend him.
If you go in trouble, he will be in trouble. He will curse you.
Gideon Mensah.
Gideon Mensah?
Yes. Don't take your trouble to Gideon Mensah. It will bring you another trouble. Trust me.
Who has the best, this question I'm asking, I don't even know. Who has the best music taste in camp?
In camp? Recently?
Yeah, best music taste. Like when you're all vibing, if you give the person the aux cable, he's going to play music that everybody will vibe to.
Like with their playlist?
Yeah. I thought it was you.
No, I mean I don't play any music like with the playlist, like with different kind of music, you know. Or you mean like in the team?
Yeah, in the team. When you are playing music in the team, you are vibing. Whose playlist is the best? Who has the best taste in music?
Gideon.
Gideon. So Gideon did everything.
Oh, not here. Can we uniform any? Oh, serious, uniform any?
Who is the fastest Black Stars player?
I don't know. You have me. You have Bukari. Inyake.
Inyake is quick.
Yeah. Kamaldeen also. I think.
I'm sure you guys have raced in camp.
We haven't really. To be frank, we haven't raced in camp. It doesn't even come in our mind. So, but I think the 3 of us or the 4 of us, I think
the quickest.
We are the quickest in the Black Stars.
Who is your best friend in the Black Stars camp?
I have a lot too. I don't really have best friend, but I really have like really good
give me like
one.
3.
3. There are a lot. Let me just mention maybe Joseph Edu.
Yeah.
He's Jonathan Mensah. Yeah. Gideon, Joseph Edu. I already mentioned Joseph Edu. Yeah. Gideon, Ziggy, Manav. Look, there are a lot too. There are a lot.
So yeah, boys. Oh.
Yeah, there are a lot.
Nice.
I always vibe with them because I always worry them. I really always worry them. Yeah, I worry them a lot.
Who is the one Black Stars player that you wish you played with, that you've never gotten to play with? One Black Stars player. Be it past or present, maybe the person that's retired is still playing, but one player that you really wished you played with, but you've never gotten the chance to.
I think maybe I would have loved maybe with Abedi Pele or with ACN Dems and Asamoah, you know, those squad. I wish I was also present there to play alongside with them.
Last one. This is the final one. I'm going to name 6 players, okay? And you have to rank them blindly. So if I mention the name, you give me the position that you think they should be in.
Now what if you say about
so you have to gauge the team.
Upon him.
Party the inside.
Party the inside.
So I'll start with the first player. 6 players. So if I mention the player, then you give me the number.
So if I mention that will be on the seat, then it goes like this.
Yes.
Okay.
So no, you can mention the player. So let's say if I mention Ronaldo, you can say Ronaldo will be number 3. Then I mention
any player in the world.
No, it's Black Stars player. I'm just giving you an example. So the first player is Mubarak Wakaso.
Wakaso.
1 to 6. Where will you put
him? 4.
4. Andre Dede Ayew.
You only want to pool.
Andre Dede Ayew. You can put him 1, 2, 3, 5, or 6.
1, 2, 3, 5, or 6. My captain. The only me dear. Wakaso, I said 4.
Mm-hmm. So Dede Ayew.
Dede, I would say.
You dey think
3.
3. Okay. So Wakaso 4, Dede 3. Thomas Partey. I give you a 4. I give you a 4 already.
But I don't want for now.
No, I give you say you want a 4. Where I say Partey Dede.
As well, is this fair?
It's fair. But I give you a 4. I give you a 4. So Dede 3, Wakaso 4, Partey, where you go take and put? Partey can be 1, 2, 5, or 6.
Partey is different. I'll go put Partey 2.
Partey 2. Okay. Asamoah Gyan.
Yeah, but Asamoah Gyan, I'm going to go to first. Now that's going to be Ufra. Oh.
Yeah, but
boom, yo. And you go commercial break.
Asamoah Gyan. 1, 5, or 6.
Oh, I got 5. 1, 5, and 6.
Hey, they go beat you.
Maybe I'm not going to enter camp anymore.
Asamoah Gyan, 1, 5, or 6.
I'll put Asamoah Gyan 1 because he's the is it the all-time scorer? Yeah.
Michael Essien, 5 or 6. I say ever boo. Michael Essien, 5 or 6.
Legend, I beg you. I don't know that this thing is going to happen. I don't know. I beg. Please don't be. They just trapped me. So I'll put Michael Essien. Bomba. She said me to 5 and I said me to 6. No one so boo flooding. Then them have basem.
Then they're begging spree.
I will put Okay, can I swap?
You can't swap. It's called blind rating. You can't swap. So
I'll
5
I'll put down 5.
5. The last one. Capito Steven Appiah. Come and beat him. So Opre, I give you Apple. So Steven Appiah 6. So Asamoah Gyan 1. Partey 2.
Mankasa.
Dede Ayew 3. Wakaso 4. ACM 5.
Make her 4.
Appiah 6.
You guys should help me now.
When you say if you be coach, I am ready. We, JP, we. Thank you very much, Joseph Pinso, Black Stars and LA Galaxy winger. Thank you for your time. This has been another Joy Sports Special. My name is Daniel Prante.
Welcome back. This is the big segment stories on the AM show. Ben and I are here to steer the conversations. But before we get into it, let's remind you about Medicus Hospital. It's a modern healthcare facility built with your recovery in mind, with spacious wards built with your family in mind, a warm and caring pediatric unit built with your children in mind. And we've assembled some of the brightest minds in medicine, led by Dr. Ya Osafo, the drive time doctor, to serve you. And we offer general medical services as well as specialist services in plastic surgery, obstetrics and gynecology, child health, urology, psychiatry, and eye care. Additionally, we offer a comprehensive medical diagnostic service encompassing endoscopy, medical laboratory services, x-rays, and scans. A 24-hour pharmacy will ensure you will always receive efficacious, safe, and affordable medicines. And we bring to you the most powerful medicine of all time: simple human kindness and empathy. And we take pride in holding ourselves to the highest attainable standards. Plus, we accept all forms of payment, including from private health insurance companies. Locate Medicas Hospital at number 10 Kingsjo Street, near Ashalibuche School Junction. Or you can simply call 0501-477-340 or reach us on social media platforms at Medicas GH. Medicas Hospital, a place of healing.
Well, let me also tell you about SolarMate Ghana. Select a solar system from our various solar packages ranging from 30,000 cedis to 99,000 cedis. And guess what? All our solar systems come with lithium-ion batteries. So you get a solar water heater, a solar home system, a solar power station, or a solar generator ranging from 1,000 watts to 20,000 watts. We have everything for you. We also sell reverse osmosis machines for water treatment. All you have to do now is Google SolarMate Ghana to find us on both Facebook and Instagram. If you'd like to call us, here's the number: 0508 320 470. SolarMate Ghana is located at Adrigano, East Lagos. SolarMate, we go everywhere. And of course, we're taking you everywhere. And our next stop is in Parliament. That's where our bus is parking because there was unprecedented chaos. Sparks flew at the Appointments Committee of Parliament yesterday between the majority and the minority sides over whether to continue vetting Minister Designates Okujeto Ablakwa for Foreign Affairs, Kwabena Mintah Kandor for Health, in what can aptly be described as Ghana's day of SHAME. Shame. Now, how does Ghana's Parliament redeem its image of being a house of violence? I want you to watch this. A report by our colleague Kweku Asante.
It's not happening. As Minister was close. It's not happening. There's always something before you. Yes. It's not happening. It's not happening. We are not vetting. We are not vetting. If you are partisan, if you are we are not vetting. We are not. We are not close. We are not vetting. You are doing that tomorrow. Yes. No. Tomorrow will continue. Tomorrow. We are not going anywhere. We would disrupt. It's not happening. We will bet tomorrow. We will bet tomorrow. We'll see. If you dare, challenge everything. Take the car from the car. Take the car from you. You clap. You are doing it. You meet you. It's not happening. No, it's not happening. Chairman, it's not happening. It's not happening.
All this.
right in the middle of all this, Austin Game trying to calm things, and there's a violence, there's a fight. This is literally two MPs at each other's net. Honorable Hassan Tampuli together with Roxy Nelson Dafemeko pushing, holding each other's clothes as we speak, and their leaders are trying to separate them, and none of them will allow this to happen, and they've been separated as we speak. But this is chaos. This is a lot of very not so nice scenes as the marshals and other persons try to separate the conflict and the confrontation that is currently ongoing here at the appointment committee, where really not so much good scenes. The 9th Parliament is starting on not so good scenes so far. A lot of policemen walking in. Our policemen are walking in. A lot of policemen from the Parliamentary Protection Unit have now walked in, and they are trying to ensure that there is order and there is calm here ultimately for this process to happen. But this table has become the center of attraction, with MPs pulling and pushing with a lot of confrontation. Please pick it. Yeah. This is chaos. Well, as you can see, I mean, the SMP says they will not allow these tables to be, the tables are literally being pushed, where the NDC MPs trying to rearrange the tables. The MPP MPs are not allowing this to happen. And these are really terrible scenes, as we are seeing in Parliament, with honorable members right at each other's throats, fighting and pushing and pulling tables, saying that this vetting will not happen, that the pushing and pulling is ongoing. This is chaos. This is chaos right here in Parliament. These are reminiscent of some of the scenes we saw when the Speaker of Parliament was elected in the 8th Parliament. But this time around, this is happening at the Appointment Committee of Parliament. A small group of people trying to have some agreement in terms of what exactly they have to do. And there's absolutely no agreement. This is chaotic. This is chaos. The MPs at each other's throat, they say that this will not happen. The vetting process, they will not allow this to happen, and they have push and pull. The police have been beefed up. There's a lot of policemen now in the building where they're trying to sort out the situation and calm things, but it's chaotic. It's really chaotic with all the things that are happening here. Well, it's chaos. The table have been turned. It's chaos, it's chaos, it's chaos, it's chaos. The table have turned. More microphones are falling to the ground and things are being destroyed. The table has broken. The table has been broken with all that we are seeing here. It is obvious that this vetting may not happen. It is obvious that this vetting may not happen with all that is happening, with public property being destroyed and all that is being happening. There's a certain understanding that perhaps this will have to be resolved in another way, and it is clear that this vetting cannot happen with what we are seeing currently here in Parliament.
It's chaos, it's chaos, it's chaos, Benjamin Akapu.
I mean, it was the positioning of Kweku Asante, where he was on that elevated, you know, looking out for himself, of course, and going, it's chaos, and I mean, that was some good reporting. And I just like the way he sequestered himself from
no, Wanka.
No, because too blow now, so he got himself on the side and
but then it's in as much as we are looking at the lighter side, this is a very
no laughing matter.
No, it's not. And it adds to, you know, many other events like these, 2021 January, the election of the speakers, that brawl. Then there was the e-levy brawl. We are becoming notorious as parliamentarians. But our guests are on. Let's go to our guests for their reactions. Joining us for this conversation is Dr. John Osai-Kwapong, CDD Fellow. Doc, thank you so much for joining the conversation.
Thank you very much, and good morning to you and Benjamin.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And we also have Inusah Fuseini, former member of Parliament for Tamale Central. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, and how are you?
We are fantastic. So let me start with you, Doc. How did you feel about yesterday's brawl, that altercation that ensued at the vetting processes that we saw yesterday? Initial reactions. Dr. John Osai-Kwapong.
Yes. You know, I'm trying to gather my initial thoughts, but it was very disappointing to see the vetting process degenerate into that kind of not even just chaos, but also destruction of state, or you can even call it public property. What I find both surprising but also disappointing is that on several occasions, you see these members of parliament refer to each other as my wonderful sister, my good friend, my good brother. So I keep wondering what is happening to that goodwill, if there is none left, right? That mutual respect, if there is none left. And it really boggles my mind just trying to make sense of how such a critical part, of the governance process and putting a government together for a new government in terms of approving nominees can degenerate into literally a fist fight. I mean, there is a way of handling disagreements, no matter how deep those disagreements are. And so that's really my initial reaction of both surprise and disappointment to see how events turned out last night.
Let's go to Inusah Fuseini as well for his initial remarks, and then we get incisive with this discussion. Sir, how did you feel about yesterday's event?
It was a catastrophic embarrassment. A toxic mix of immaturity.
Mr. Fuseini, we'd appreciate it if you could just speak a bit louder. Did you start by saying this was a catastrophic disgrace?
Embarrassment. Catastrophic embarrassment. A toxic mix of immaturity and impunity. And a display of a level of machismo uncharacteristic of members of parliament and unknown in a democracy. In fact, I was terribly disappointed. I mean, there's a consensus in any parliamentary system, any democratic system, that disagreement must be solved through rules and regulations and conventions laid down in democracies. That's the consensus. That when members of parliament, we are not all supposed to agree on what a motion on the table, but the way we resolve the disagreement is to vote on that. That's the consensus, and if parliamentarians do not know this and can take the law into their own hands to determine the course of action in a matter, then, I mean, I don't know whether we are I really appreciate the democratic principles that underpin our democracy in this country.
Well, let's get to the crux of the matter. It appears the minority's concern was that it was too late to proceed with the vetting processes, and they were requesting that they continue today. But the majority, led by the chairman, Bernard Ahiafo, insisted that they should continue the vetting process, which then degenerated into the chaos that we saw. Where did they go wrong, sir? I'm still on you, Mr. Inusah Fuseini.
They went wrong because they refused, neglected, or failed to subject the decision, the review of the decision that they have arrived to earlier, to another decision. So they had agreed as the appointments committee to vet about 7 ministers of state, nominees, ministerial nominees, yesterday. So that was an agreement. That agreement is not revoked through acts of lawlessness. That agreement must be subjected to another decision. And that decision should be taken by everybody in a civil environment. And arguments raised and debated on the basis of the exigencies that has compelled or necessitated a review of the earlier decision. And the decision taken through democratic principles or based on democratic principles. That's how you change course when you have earlier on agreed on the course of action in the matter before a committee. You don't change course by taking the law into your own hands and displaying acts of impunity on the floor of Parliament.
Ben.
That's a scar on our democratic experience, on the experiment.
You say it was a scar on our democratic experience. I'll come back to you, Inusah Fuseini. Let me go to Dr. John Osai-Kwapong. I have seen many such vettings of secretaries of state and all of that. I'm talking about the UK, the US. I am yet to see something like this. Sometimes it degenerates in the sense of loud voices raised and all that. Look at RFK Jr., for example, Robert Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr., for health in the United States. I'm wrapping my mind around why, for example, we are spending so much time. In my estimation, it shouldn't take more than 45 minutes, maximum an hour, to vet people, and other jurisdictions do this in far less time. What do you see when it comes to that angle of the vetting process so far, Dr. Osai-Kwapong?
You know, if for me, whatever the rules are that guide these vetting processes, if the rules are not working, or if there's a sense that the rules should be modified to make sure that we get the most out of these nominees, then for me, it is incumbent upon the leadership of the committee to build some consensus around, okay, for each nominee, these are the time parameters, these are the question parameters, this is how many we agree we would do in a day, etc., etc. And then you also leave yourself room for any mid-course corrections. So maybe after the first 2-3 vetting, you can huddle back and say, you know, we've done 3-4 so far, this is what is working, this is what is not working. Are there any tweaks that we can make to the rules, you know, moving forward to make it much smoother? You're correct. You can, you know, depending on the portfolio that a particular nominee is going for, you can spend less time with a nominee, but depending on the portfolio that the nominee is going for, you can spend more time. So, for example, your Minister for Finance, I would not agree that 45 minutes should be enough to vet someone going to hold a critical portfolio like the Minister of Finance, right? But whatever it is, for me, there has to be a way to agree to the basic rules that would guide the conduct of affairs in vetting these nominees. And if at some point the rules are not working, it's a matter of just getting back together, starting with the leadership, agreeing on the rules, and bringing it back to the members of the committee to say, leadership have taken a step back. We think this is working, this is not working. Here is the rules going forward. And again, it just baffles my mind that giving everything that our members of parliament say about each other, describe each other, that they can't find some goodwill and some mutual respect for each other to be able to build this kind of consensus and come to some agreement on how this should be done. Yes, I know that in the past you would have some contentious moments in these vettings, some pointed questions, even some, trying to settle, some political issues that may have happened during the campaign. But I don't believe we've seen this level of degeneration into this kind of chaos. And it's really a blot on the institution. I just hope that when they resume, they would have had enough conversations in the background to say, look, we cannot repeat this, and let's find a proper way of moving forward.
Right. I'll come back to you quickly with this, and then I'll go to Inusah Fuseini. First off, on the time bit, obviously they don't have any time frame, and I agree with you. One ministry may require less time. We all saw Namomo Latte and how brief her vetting was for the gender ministry. It's not to say anything about or denigrate the ministry, but the finance minister taking more time. But at what shouldn't we be applying, and I'm sorry I have to use common sense, in terms of if you have someone sitting there for 5 hours, like we did Sam George, and I agree, in the past, the Honorable Ejako, Energy Minister, we did similar things, pretty long. But do you need to keep someone for 4 hours, 5 hours, even 3 hours, even 2 hours, before you can assess that this person is either fit or not fit for the work? Now, you would have seen some people, even yesterday, saying, and you, this, you will see. It's in the video. You will see. We'll show you. I mean, then it moves from the realm of we are vetting you to the realm of we are going to show you where power lies, because now you are in literally I mean, where do we add common sense to this?
You're correct in that sentiment. And so again, if 4 or 5 hours is a bit untoward, and if it looks like this is a question of trying to settle some political scores, again, I always go back to the rules. Rules structure behavior, and someone must enforce the rules, which is the chair of the committee. So whatever rules are agreed upon, it is also incumbent on the chair to try as much as possible to enforce the rules of procedure. Yes, I know that sometimes some members may want to either talk over the chair, be disruptive, etc., etc. But stronger enforcement of the rules of procedure should be able to help. You see, I always say that when you don't have very specific rules guiding behavior, particularly within the Ghanaian context, I always see it as, it is interpreted as, if the rules say I can't, then it means I can and I should. And if we want to avoid some of those things, then you need more specific rules. Instead of saying, look, we are going to vet you, perhaps we need to say all vetting should be completed within a space of 2 hours. And hopefully the chairman can enforce that rule within that time parameter set.
Right. Just a quick follow-up on that, because you talked about rules. I was looking at what really, typically, the line of questioning for a nominee should, follow. We have personal and educational background, professional competence, sector knowledge, integrity, and ethical consideration. But what I find interesting is addressing public criticism or allegations and response to petitions filed against them. In the case of Sam George, and the number of hours that was spent on him, could it be the case that he had a lot of these public criticism and allegations to clarify, which resulted in the number of hours that was spent on his vetting process? Could that be the case, Doc?
That could be that could be part of it, right? But even if you are tying it to suitability for office, and there are certain allegations against a nominee, you clarify or you ask that nominee about those allegations. But if you notice, some of it seem to be about things a person said or did not say in the course of a campaign and things like that. In my opinion, and respectfully, I don't see how that is relevant to determining their suitability of office. I mean, we all know that campaign season is tough season. They all say all manner of things, about each other. But beyond that, if there are substantive allegations about conduct in public office, which you think may not make a particular nominee suitable for office, then yes, those you can probe, clarify, and make sure that, all of those things are clear. But some of the line of questioning sometimes just seems like as an attempt to settle political scores when an election is over and we are trying to move on into the realm of now trying to govern.
Back to you, Ben.
Inusah Fuseini, so your reflection on the questions I posed to Dr. John Osai-Kwapong, especially considering that just the day before, they had been battling claims about bribery in Parliament and had seemingly put the matter to rest. Then the following day, this is what Parliament does.
Yes, Dr. Kwapong is very right. I've had issues with the questioning.
on grounds of relevance. How do you ask somebody whether he's a Freemason? How relevant is the question to his competence, qualification, and suitability to hold office? How? And even in view of our constitution as a country, we're a secular country. Well, what does religion play? What role does religion play in recruiting people for political office? Totally, useless questions. And it's this type of useless questions that kept us glued to our TV and kept Joy FM from broadcasting or dealing with matters that will bring money to the company and giving us free service for the whole night. That kind of useless questions. So yes, quality of questions, relevance of questions, time frame within which those questions are asked have come up for discussion. I was a member of the EU ACP Joint Parliamentary Assembly, EU European Union, ACP African Caribbean Pacific Joint Parliamentary Assembly. And no matter who you are allocated time within which to make your intervention. And if you unnecessarily delay in making that intervention, you'll be bailed out. You'll be bailed out. And that's all. No matter who you are. And in that assembly, we have prime ministers. We have mayors. We have MPs. You'll be bailed out. Yes, so Kwakwa is again right. But are we facing a case of default of rules or a case of rules being weak or unenforced?
That's part of the responsibility there. That's part of the responsibility for on the shoulders of Bernard Ahiafo, the chairman.
So Bernard Ahiafo is the chairman. So which rules is he supposed to work with? The standing orders, rules of appointment. The appointment committee. And what are those rules? Does the standing order provide time frames within which questions should be asked and finished? Do the standing orders provide time frames within which a minister can be vetted and finished? And indeed, I always go back to our constitutional history. As a country, it's important for us to understand why we have brought this aberration onto ourselves. In 1969, all ministers of state have to come from parliament. Go and read the 1969 constitution. There was no requirement for vetting. No minister was vetted in 1969 because a minister had to be an MP and the minister had to qualify to be an MP. And if a minister is an MP, he's qualified to be the MP is qualified to be a minister. Simple. Then the constitution was overthrown. Then we brought in the 1979 constitution and went 180 degrees. We went fully a presidential system of government where the president derives his mandate directly from the people, the parliament from the people, and then strict separation of powers. So you remember the case of Harisoya. Being a member of parliament for
Inusah Fuseini, we have to go, but you've really got me curious. Are you suggesting that, and some have said, if the person is an MP, that person qualifies to be a minister?
Yes.
If that person in any light qualifies to be an MP, even if the person is not an MP, what then do we do? Should we vet some and not vet others? What do we do?
So first of all, you look at the eligibility criteria for a member of parliament. So if is he a registered voter? So that struck out Scipio Gabra. You recall?
Yeah.
He must be a registered voter.
Yeah.
There's no way that they say the minister must be a registered voter. But because you must qualify to be a member of parliament, and a member of parliament must be a registered voter, that struck him out. He must be a citizen of this country. He must not hold allegiance to another country or allegiance to another country. You want to satisfy yourself that that person who is not a member of parliament, is he a certified bankrupt? Has he been convicted for a crime of dishonesty? Has he paid or made arrangements to pay all his taxes? Has he got a character, moral aptitude to hold that office? We're looking to see what. Tell me which question have they asked that determines the competence of a person.
Sweetie, I guess at this point we should guess what the way forward is.
Yeah, but I'm just curious to know, do you think that MPs involved in violent clashes should face disciplinary action going forward? How do we stop this?
I think today they must raise the question of breach of privilege on the floor of the House and refer members of the committee who engage in that act of vandalism to the Privileges Committee to be dealt with.
Thank you. Dr. John Osai-Kwapong, same question. How do we curb this? Because this isn't the first time we're seeing an issue like this. So should members of parliament involved in violent clashes face disciplinary action as a deterrent?
Yes, I agree 100%. And whatever damages that were occurred should not be fixed or repaired at the cost of the state. Whoever was involved in those distractions must be made to pay for it. I'm also hoping that the Speaker would summon them and also have, a word with them that says, it's not as if they don't even know that this is improper conduct, but if it means that the Speaker should also have a strong, conversation word with them moving forward, that should also happen.
Well, thank you so much for helping us put all of this in perspective. We spoke to Dr. John Osai-Kwapong, CDD Fellow. We also spoke to Inusah Fuseini, former Member of Parliament for Tamale Central. We have a lot more action coming your way. Please stay. Don't go away yet.
Well, thank you very much for staying with us. Very quickly, we segue right into another conversation. We are talking energy matters and the way forward for our country. But we're going to be having an interaction with another Member of Parliament, Kofi Ako Nokwe, a Member of Parliament for Evaluate Ajomoro Dra constituency. And he's also Deputy Ranking Member on the Committee on Economy and Development. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, my brother.
Did I get your other name right?
Yes.
Nokwe or Noko?
Oh, yes, I was about to correct you on that. It's difficult pronouncing it at first. So, but the name is Noku.
Noku.
Kofi Aku Noku. Yes.
Noku. Okay.
Noku as in a U. Yes.
Okay.
That's how it's supposed to be. Noku.
Noku.
Yes.
Okay. So it's not O. It's not Oe. It is U.
Yes.
Okay.
Now that's a U.
Honorable Kofi Ako Noku. Thank you very much for that correction. Very quickly, let's get into, since you're a Member of Parliament. Parliamentarians behaving like this. I don't want to use certain words because you bear the tag honorable, though sometimes the actions are not honorable. How do you assess what happened yesterday?
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. And then permit me to greet my party leadership in my constituency. I mean, Joy News happens to be one of the favorite channels of Evaluate Ajomoro Dra. So I would like, and everybody in the region and the whole party leadership, I greet them. And also for me to thank the people of Evaluate Ajomoro Dra. I actually made history this time around. It has never happened since 1992 to get a chance to have another slot consecutive term. It is always a one-term thing. And the people of Evaluate Ajomoro Dra have done me the greatest of honor. And I'm so grateful for that. Yes, the happenings in Parliament yesterday was unfortunate and regrettable. I want to say that I have always maintained that gone were the days when the happenings in Parliament was in a conclave where people were not following. But with the aid of social media and the happenings in the country, I can tell you that, most of the youth and people, the political inclined people follow the discussions throughout. So I always say that we must be careful on what we do because whatever happens there has a reflection outside. I believe what happened was not the best, but I do believe that leadership this morning would have discussions on it on the way forward. And we as MPs must be careful on the precedents we serve, we set actually, because I don't understand why vetting an individual, one person should take about 3 hours to do that.
Should we have time limits on that?
I believe that should be the way. I mean, the law is there to be tested and also built upon.
As a Member of Parliament, what do you think would be an apt time frame, plus or minus,
Oh yeah, at least 2 hours.
2 hours?
Because
maximum?
Maximum, yes. Because there are some sensitive areas where, and then also on the panel, a lot of people want to ask questions. Now, if one person should take 3 hours, it becomes a problem. Because the purpose of vetting is to give the nominee an opportunity to showcase the capacity. So I believe 2 hours maximum, but on a normal note, an hour should be enough.
An hour should, maximum 2 hours, but 1 hour should be enough.
Yes.
Right. Inusah Fuseini is former legislator for Tamale Central. He described it as a toxic display of immaturity and impunity. But then he also prescribed something. There must be a cure somewhere, right? MPs putting tables, fighting, he says they should be dealt with in respect of breach of privilege and taken to the Privileges Committee. Do you think that's a solution? So that if you do this, you'll be taken to the Privileges Committee and there will be consequences.
Sure. We should bear consequences for our actions. I was listening to you on radio this morning when a comment was that if it had happened at a place like Achimota in a boarding school, at least they wouldn't have left it like that. And we as MPs are the first of the people that many people look up to. We should be setting good examples. So I agree with him. But I want to believe that, and also to say to our grassroots out there that I don't believe that leadership is weak. There's a strategy. When you're the majority, there's a way of doing things. You can't always be aggressive and always like that. You have to be accommodative, because at the end of the day, we need our nominees to be vetted and also sworn in, because the country must move on. So I believe this morning and going forward, leadership on both sides will meet and figure out a way forward, for which we will support. I doubt that any of us members of parliament this morning, we are not in good moods. And regrettably, we look at it and we feel bad. So I believe going forward, things will be different.
All right. Let's talk energy now. Where do we find ourselves currently? You remember when Abdullahi Jinapo, even before he was made minister designate, he had passed certain comments about where we found ourselves, and then there were subsequent comments about only 5 days worth of this and that fuel. Where do we find ourselves in terms of energy? Some of my colleagues still come and speak to me that, my lights went out on this day or that day. Where are we?
Yeah, thank you for that. And that is one reason why I like the appointment of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. That is when whenever he allocates you the appointment, he gives you a target. I believe in his comment when he was swearing in Honorable Jinapo, who's a fantastic leader and has shown all the expertise and understanding of the area, of the field. He, as part of his comment, he said that he should look at fixing Dumso, because Dumso is what people don't want to see.
Keep the lights on.
Exactly, keep the lights on. But unfortunately, the lights were kept on by the outgoing administration, but a lot of debt. I believe the situation that is at hand, be it power, be it the economy, everywhere, it's about debt. How do you maintain and able to fix that problem? It's all about debt. The Honorable Minister made mention of a debt stock of about $3 billion, and which is so scary. If a power sector has this kind of debt, it tells you that we're in danger. And then it's all about figuring out a way forward to at least make sure that we don't build on this debt. $3 billion is a lot of money. And then, it affects a lot of things. The first thing will be the fuel supply. How do you keep the lights on when you don't have enough fuel? That's a big problem that needs to be solved.
But a quick intervention. You talk about debt. When your party was leaving office in 2016, you were leaving a debt of about $2.1 billion. Now it has shot up by another 900 million, so $3 billion. That was still a lot of debt that had to be dealt with by the MPP administration. Now you've also inherited debt, more debt from them. How do you address this debt issue you're raising?
Yeah, like I said, basically a change of leadership is for you to address the problem head on. We would not say that we came to leave this amount, so we need to build on. And that is why I like his suggestion by the Honorable Minister that we need to give in to privatization, to private players to come into the bid, the distribution bid, because the whole of the problem, the bulk of the problem emanates from the distribution bid, a last end user. That is where we're supposed to accrue the money to provide for the IPPs and others. And I agree with him when he says that we need to give in a role for people to come into the distribution sector, which is ECG. Most of the blames goes at the role that ECG is supposed to play, because some of us don't understand why power, the sale of power, should come with debt. Yes, we have the losses start from transmission and then also the distribution bit, but I can say that look at how most of the government agencies have issues when it comes to payment of bills and others. And that is when I believe that when privatization comes in, especially at the distribution bit, it will help. Because honestly, the attitude, the posturing of ECG is one factor. In my constituency, it's so difficult when there's a problem with transmitter, and then you have to write letters and be chasing ECG for so long before a major problem is fixed. These are consumers that are willing to pay for their electricity bills. So the posturing at ECG, I believe, when we have private individuals coming in, would help. Because they're rolling out. I mean, PDS did well, but just that there were issues with it. Look at it, in the space of about 3 or 4 months, look at how much they were able to accrue. So giving into private partners, because I always say that an amount of voltage, if it's given to people from Axim to Aguna, when you give it to a private partner, that this is the amount of voltage we're giving you, which is about $100,000. I mean, you have to render account for it. I take example from MTN. When it got to the printing of their core credit, you don't see MTN printing it. I mean, they sell it out to private partners. And what they said, well, what they give to them, they are supposed to have it back in cash. So basically, if we can do that, giving to private partners, especially at the distribution bit, I believe a lot of corrections can be made with regards to clearing those debts away. That's one factor.
You've started talking about the debt issues.
Yes, sure.
And of course, we are where we are, with the CD being where it is, which means that the debt has ballooned even further in terms of CD terms. On the back of all of this, is your party, the NDC, are you going to be able to keep the lights on?
Most definitely. I mean, if we have the Honorable Minister has constituted a committee that has to look into, like I said, the partnership about it. This is a ministry that we've attached green energy to, green transitions to, because we've come to understand that it just doesn't make it economically viable to be transporting power over long distances. You understand? In order to cut down the transmission losses. That's why we are suggesting green technology, places where you can have smaller grids, places where you can have solar panels setting up, because in areas like that, Afram Plains and others, and producing in Takoradi and transporting in the southern sector and transporting all the way to the northern region gives you losses. And this is what we're talking about. We have to put in strategies and ways to curb losses that emanate from the transmission losses to the distribution losses. So I want to believe that with this committee being set up and under the leadership of the Honorable Minister, I believe we can look at cutting debt, which eventually would...
How will you cut the debt?
Like I said, you try to bring down losses. Losses.
So ECG?
Oh, ECG is a factor because, like I said, prepaid meters must be rolled out. And the portion of ECG has been a factor. I don't know if you had the experience. Somebody applies for a meter, it takes about 3 or 4 months. Why would it be like that?
I do.
If I'm willing to pay for my meter, I should have it. You get my point? A private partner wouldn't put up that posturing, you know, so...
But is it not also to do with the bottlenecks of, I hear some of them come from South Africa, for example. There was a time I had an issue and I was told, oh, some things by the former manager, that some things were coming from South Africa and all that. Is it not also about the failure to maybe relocate some of those or locate some of those here, production-wise, so that we don't have to do this external bid? Because, of course, if you're bringing something all the way from South Africa or some other part of the world, it will take time and it will impede the metering process.
So that is why we're looking at green transition. My brother, look at the solar, the blessing we have from God when it comes to solar energy. I mean, solar energy, I always say that the initial cost might be a bit scary, but going forward, it's worth it. It's way cheaper. I mean, reports from the International Renewable Energy Agency has shown that from 2010 to now, the cost of solar panels has reduced more than 60%. And so those are ways that I believe going forward we'll be able to come up innovative ways of adding up, expanding our generation mix. Shouldn't always be relying on the diesel and high-powered fuel and others. I mean, if we look at renewable energy, which we have vast of it, I mean, we have a lot of wind energy that we can tap into. So going forward, if we can, the thing is that we have to limit the distance at which power travels. That is one bit of the transmission. I mean, we lose about 16%, 18% of the loss emanates from transmission. If we can do that, get the power grid closer to the end user, that will be a factor. And that is why it is not only the energy of ministry, but energy of ministry and green transition. So I believe all those ways would add up to cutting down the cost, which eventually would keep the light on. And also
cutting down cost will also mean cutting down losses in terms of power that is consumed but not paid for. Which brings in back ECG, right? How are you going to cure the sickness of ECG in terms of losses? Privatization, is that the solution?
No, not solely holistic privatization.
What is holistic privatization?
I mean, the misconception out there is that we are pushing for a whole privatization of ECG, which is not true. We are giving in the strategy of the Mahama-led government is to give in to private partners. I mean, prepaid meters must be expanded everywhere. I mean, why would ECG be chasing agencies and ministries for electricity bill, where technology could have solved that? My brother, you get it? Yes, it could have solved that. I mean, you roll out prepaid meters everywhere, country-wise. Though those of outside might not like the concept of prepaid meters. It solves problems. So that is one way of ensuring that at least the cash at hand comes before you consume, which would be a way to cut costs and save ECG. That is a way out.
So you are for a partial privatization of ECG?
Not a holistic one, private.
What aspects of ECG do you think should be privatized?
Yes, like I said, I mean the end user, the sale of power at the end. Like I said, I mean let's learn from best practices outside, where ECG must not go down to the last consumer to be chasing for power used. You sell it to a private partner. This is the amount of wattage we're giving you, which is $200,000.
And you must account for it.
You must account for it. I mean, this young man, this contractor who has it, will make sure that all those gaps, be it illegal connection and others, are fixed. Because at the end of the day, if he's not able to come up with the money, it goes against his business. But giving it to ECG puts them in a relaxed manner, because what they say is that whether they work or not, whether they declare profit or not, they're going to be paid. So that is the way to go. I mean, Unilever does it. MTN does it. So why can't we adapt same?
Now, we already have the situation we are in with ECG. It will take some time to remedy it, though technically the people of Ghana are not giving you too much time. You have to work, and you have to change things. But how do we address then the problem of the cash waterfall mechanism and the dissatisfaction of the independent power producers? How are you going to align them? I know part of it has to do with ECG, but how do we streamline it?
Well, I mean, the cash water mechanism was to ensure that, I mean, every partner gets something at the end of the day, But the policy might be right, by the implementation, and that is why we need to look at it. Because, I mean, left it for ECG alone, they might even be paying themselves before they even consider the IPPs. So we just have to ensure that the right thing is done. And I believe the new leadership that has come to play under the minister, I believe would ensure that it is done. We have the policies in place. All we have to do is just to make sure that we make it work. If we do, things will be okay. And the lights, in a way, we can keep it on.
All right. So if I asked you, as we get to the end of this conversation, if I asked you as a member of parliament, as one well-versed in energy matters, in 1 year, if you had to come up with a plan to deal with our energy issues, what are some of the key areas you would look at, 1 year period, to cure our debt situation and also keep the lights on?
Like I said, let's look at expanding our energy generation mix. I mean, it doesn't make sense to be transporting power all the way from the south to the north. Let's go in, let's tap into solar energy and other renewable.
So NEDCO taps into a lot more solar.
Sure. In order to cut down transmission loss. That's one thing. And then we go back to the distribution bit. Like I said, ECG is too vast. I mean, you can't have only one company taking charge of the whole country, the southern part of the whole country. No, even if ECG is supposed to be demarcated into zones, I mean, regional level, holding them accountable, it would work. And then at the end of the day, we should, the Ghanaian, because one thing I've seen is that every Ghanaian wants his own meter, you understand? Because they want to be held accountable for what they use. So make provisions for them. It shouldn't be backlogs of where you want a private meter becomes a problem. So the motivation, the posture of ECG must change. That is when the private partners come in to ensure that there is value for money. What we produce, what we send to the end user, we get the money for it. And also to look at, I think another problem is where we politicians get to serve on boards and others where we don't make ECG and others semi-autonomous. I mean, we have to be able to hold them accountable. You know, so I believe that if we should also be opening up our prepaid meters to the agencies and other areas, it would help, because it just doesn't make sense when you have technology and you have to be chasing people for power consumed. Nobody wants to pay. You know, so you have to put in a mechanism where you have to pay for what you use. Because like I said, debt is the first thing we should be looking at. I mean, when it comes to the power sector, economic sector, everywhere we go is about debt. If we can find ways to manage our debt, I believe we can keep the lights on, and then there will be constant supply of power.
Let me just acknowledge a few messages. I think, with your entry, you may mean prepaid, because you say, I think they should abolish, you say postpaid, but I think you mean prepaid meters throughout the country, except very remote areas, to avoid chasing individuals for bills, etc., which I think that you're saying prepaid, so that then what you pay for is what you end up consuming. Yebua Benjamin says, why won't ECG run into losses when energy meters are treated like a luxury for high bidders? Even Joy News ran a whole documentary on it, and the revelations were so unsightly, yet nobody was held responsible for anything. And he's referring to that documentary we aired some time back. Final words?
Yes, so the final words is that, I mean, we as Ghanaians must believe in the leadership of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. And we as citizens have a lot of role to play when it comes to ensuring that we have power supply. And my advice too also is that ECG must understand that, I mean, we can't leave people to be cartels when it comes to reforms. I mean, reforms are things that are good that we should embrace. So I want to believe that whatever reform that is coming, we should hope and pray and believe that it will be the best for us in the end. Like I said, a lot of reforms need to take place, from generation to transmission to distribution. We should also be, I mean, there should be, I think we should learn from oral, where we have a free tone, a phone center where people can call in and report issues of power theft and others. Because once they get to understand that if things are not managed, it affects all of us, it will be a good thing. I always believe that the Ghanaians should be able to understand that we are all in this together. Right. We all have our parts to play. I do mine, you play yours, and together we succeed. That should be the way forward.
I have a message. I don't have the person's permission to mention his name. It's a direct message, but the person says, good morning. Please say hello to Honorable Kofi Akon Noku. Yes. He is my good brother and a brilliant young man. I pray he is nominated as a deputy minister. Okay. Do you know he's the only person to break the curse of one term? Yes, he mentioned that. And this is a message coming through from someone, one Adu in Ahanta West. I will not mention the full name, but he's something Adu. Is that something you would take on, though, if you were given a deputy ministerial nod?
I mean, it's for the President's Excellency to make that decision. I mean, I'm a young man in Parliament with expertise in energy, and that is where I hope to acquire more knowledge and be able to help my country. And hailing from the Western region, where we bet most of the brunt from the happenings of the oil industry, it would be a pleasure a great pleasure to serve. But it's based on a decision of His Excellency, and whatever comes, we accept it, because we want to help him to succeed. So
All right.
in whatever capacity comes, why not?
All right.
Sure.
Well, thank you, and we wish you the very best, even as you support the team, and we hope you do, all of you, keep our lights on.
Oh, we will.
That's all we need.
You can bet on it.
And this has been a conversation on energy with Honorable Kofi Akon Noku. Noku. Okay. Honorable Kofi Akon Noku, Member of Parliament, Evalu Ajomoro Ejura constituency. He's also a deputy ranking member of the Committee on Economy and Development. He joined the conversation with us this morning. Do stick and stay. I still have my blunt thoughts I'll be serving you shortly. Ghana's economy in focus, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And of course, I'll spice it up with some thoughts about Parliament and what happened yesterday. Stick and stay. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is the AM show, and it's time now. I'm sure when you see this, you know it's time for me to share my blunt thoughts with you. This morning, I've titled it Ghana's Economy in Focus, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Ghana's economy in focus, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But please, let me preface what I'm about to say with this brawl in Parliament. Look, let me just say this. You could have voted for the MPP in the last election, 2024. You could be a card-bearing member of the MPP or just a supporter or fan. But I ask, do you genuinely feel the way some of these members of Parliament acted is the only way this issue could have been handled? Could the minority MPs not have simply walked away? Frank Anodompre, chair on table lifting by the minority side, and the leg of that table broken. Who is going to pay for that? It's our taxpayers' money. I ask now, the majority side too, looking at how matters were degenerating into chaos, especially when Frank Anodompre put a chair on the table. Why did they not just pause and likely also stand down or walk away? The signaling was clear when Anodompre put the table on the chair. Why did the majority also play along, leading to the tussle, the eventual tussle between Hassan Tampuli and Roxanne Nelson Dafia-Mekpo? Our legislators were telling us only a day before that they didn't take any forms of bribes before or after appointees' vettings. And I respect that view, including that of former First Deputy Speaker Joe Osei-Wusu. I've heard of many counter opinions, but that's fine. For MPs to put up such a shameful, better still, downright ignominious display just the day after such serious allegations had been brought to bear by the Appointments Committee. I mean, it just makes matters so much worse. Look, our dear parliamentarians, MPP and NDC, you should realize many Ghanaians are losing not just respect for, but faith in the bigger institution itself based on some of your actions. And the sooner you remedy these notions, the better. How can you see your honorable member of parliament, chair, tables, holding each other? These vetting times, they make no sense, respectfully. Some questions, and yes, Inusah Fuseini said it, and I'll reiterate, some of these questions are unnecessary. Why? Do what must be done. And I'm not subscribing to what has been done in the past when the likes of Ejako were grilled for hours. Will it take those hours? Who would have said that Ejako back then for Energy Ministry was not competent? Who would have said that? Barring everything that happened. He was competent. So let the person ask relevant questions, let the person through. But some bits about, and you saw it yesterday in the videos, people say, you see, and all of that. Anyway. But moving off from there, I just had to vent on that matter. When I come to our economy, why I'm focusing on our economy, I'll talk about cocoa, gold, and a few things happening in between in the sub-region. If you look at the trend of gold exports, in 2016, we're looking at 4.9 billion in terms of what we're accruing in USD. It moved up to 5.7 billion in 2017, fell to 5.4 billion. The trajectory followed, and now look at the difference, 4.9 billion, practically 5 billion. We're now standing at 11.6 billion. We've added about 6.7 billion on top of that by 2024. The question is, what has all of this done for us? And also, as we have dealt with gold, what has happened when it comes to cocoa? If you look at cocoa exports in USD, we've actually fallen 2.4 billion in 2016, 2.6 billion in 2017. It fell a bit. Then we rose to a high of $2.8 billion in the 2021-2022 season. Since that time, there's been a steady decline. We fell to 2.2 billion, 2.1, and now 1.6 billion. Lower than throughout from 2016, a 9-year period. But there's more, because when you do the breakdown, you see a certain picture. In terms of gold, 2010 to 2024, in ounces, we're producing 2.97 million ounces in 2010. It rose to a high of about 4.7 million in the 2018-2019 period. Now we are looking at 4 million, which tells you that it's not necessarily how high production has been, but cost factors also are playing a role in there. Because you see, we are producing 4 million ounces. We're producing a high of 4.7 million. But the figure that you would see for 2024, 11.6 billion, tells you that, of course, because of cost, the rise of the price of gold, we are making more money. But then when you come to cocoa in tons, look at that. 0.879, this is what, 879,000 metric tons that we're producing. Went to a high of 969,000 metric tons, and now it's fallen to a low. In fact, the highest was 1 million, 2021, 2022, 1 million. We crossed this, but look at where we are now. 550,000 metric tons, far lower than anything you will see on this trajectory, even the low in 2014, 2015. Look at that. And that is something we definitely have to look at, because it doesn't mean that because we are making a lot more from gold, which, by the way, is not so much because of an upping in production, it's because of the price of gold. We should let cocoa go. That is clear. Now, in terms of our economy, then you must also look at what is happening in other places where we get funding from. The United States. Now, Trump has been saying something. The U.S. has suspended foreign aid for 90 days. And the quote is this: no new funds shall be obligated for new awards or extensions of existing awards until each proposed new award or extension has been reviewed and approved. Stiffer issues to deal with in terms of the release of funds. But how much do we usually get from the United States in terms of support? $130 million. What's the projection for this year? $138.7 million. This is what, if we don't get some actions right, thanks to Trump being in power, we could be losing. And that will take a hit. In fact, our economy will take a hit on the back of this. And the areas that usually this spending goes into, critical areas of our national life, basic health. Now, you may sit in Accra and think, oh, all is well. You can walk in. Go to some of the rural areas and you will realize why this is important, especially for CHIPS compounds and others. Agriculture, maternal and child health, another crucial area. A lot of women suffer because in some rural areas, they can't even access easily maternal health care. Governments and civil society, and then HIV and AIDS, another crucial health issue. That is where all these sums of money go to help. Now, if you then look at another aspect of our financial life, Ghana's government has signed a memorandum of understanding with its official creditor committee. We've been hearing recently from the finance minister. Debt service relief from restructuring 2023 to 2026. You are looking at a sum of $2.86 billion. And in terms of 2025, the debt service relief stands at $657 million. It's not necessarily money we are getting. It's money that we would have paid, which we are not then going to pay, which we can use to do other things, to create room, fiscal space, and also take care of our developmental needs. Now, if you look at the debt service relief from restructuring, it's tapering down because, yes, I mean, we got that gargantuan sum, $836 million in 2023, 2024, $766 million. This year, we are getting $657 million, and next year, we are getting $604, which also means that we should be tightening our belts and using money judiciously, not necessarily money we are getting, but the space we are creating. use it judiciously to shore up our economy, because the time may come where this will dwindle. And when it dwindles, hopefully we are not heading back to the IMF. But this brings me to this point. I'm quickly getting to the end. You see, I always say that I don't support military regimes. I'll get there shortly. But some of what is said is so rational. The Burkinabe leader says, we have been receiving French aid for 63 years, yet our country has not developed. So cutting it off from us now will not kill us. Rather, it will motivate us to work and rely on ourselves. You see, I do not support coup d'etat. In fact, I would be the last person to support them. I'm not for military forays or interventions in politics. That's not their place. But while that's not what we train them for, some of the military leaders in our neighboring countries are saying and acting, doing things we need to pay attention to and learn from. Yes, the mere fact that someone toes a line that you do not subscribe to does not mean everything about them and everything they do is wrong. It reminds me of the story of a university professor whose tire came off while driving back home after a conference in a way that could have been fatal. There was no vulcanizer close by, and the closest was many miles away. It was also getting late. After many minutes of puzzling over what to do, a lunatic close by suggested that he use the tools in his boot to take a bolt from each of the 3 remaining tires and use those 3 bolts to fasten the last tire and drive at minimal speed till he arrived at the vulcanizer's place. A lunatic taught this learned man, a university professor, something useful. In like manner, we can take useful lessons from what some of these military leaders are saying and doing. I have followed some of their actions, and I actually am inclined to believe, while I'm completely against military rule or incursions in democracies, that some of what they espouse makes absolute sense. After all, we are even drawing great lessons today from Ignatius Kutu Echampo and Dr. Eo Abudu's Operation Feed Yourself. That was a policy of a military regime. Today, Burkina Faso's leader suggests self-sufficiency through focusing inwardly rather than always depending, doing beggy loans from abroad. And it's doable. After all, did the erstwhile administration not talk of Ghana beyond aid? They did. Which is why we have to pay attention to stuff like this. Now, I ask you, look at all of these plans, 63, 64, 7-year development plan, at least in Nkrumah and some of the things they did well. 1996, Ghana Vision 2020, how did it end? 2002, Ghana's Poverty Reduction Strategy, the GPRS, how did it end? 2018, Black Star Rising 40-year plan, where is that plan now? Can it be found? 2019, Ghana at 100, we are looking at 2024, Vision 2057. All these plans, where did they end? Your guess is as good as mine. Which is why, as I end, I want to celebrate again Burkina Faso producing their first locally made electric car. I'm not talking of what Ghana is doing. You go and bring VW. It's a good thing. It will lower the prices of things. But you're not producing any parts. You're not doing anything. You're just recycling. Look at what the Burkinabes are doing. They are not even a normal car. They are producing electric vehicles. This is what you do, and this is what you apply a 24-hour economy to ensure that you are cutting costs, creating jobs, and doing a lot more. Again, this is my final slide. Another malaise we must cure to save money. I saw recently the MMDAs and financial irregularities, Auditor General's report. Look at how much we are bleeding every year, these MMDAs. In fact, there are years where the MMDAs have paid people to collect taxes. And that salary has been more than what they collected. Ghana, look at this trend. 9.13 million irregularities, 72 plus million in 2016. Look at all these irregularities. How do we develop? Ghana for, ladies and gentlemen, this is what must change. And we are all a part of it. And as we change, Ghana will be better. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for staying for my blunt thoughts today. As always, I've delivered it raw, hot, and edited, undiluted. But at this juncture, I'm handing over to Noella Karen Yale. And it's all about our E-Corner, that ultimate weekly vibe when it comes to entertainment. Noella, what do you have for us today?
I have a lot. First of all, I absolutely enjoyed your
blunt thoughts. So yeah, kudos to you. But hey, good morning and welcome to E-Corner, your ultimate weekly plug for the biggest entertainment stories on the AM show. I mean, if it's trending, if it's making waves and people just can't stop talking about it, best believe we're breaking it all down right here on the show. This week, we're switching things up a bit because we strongly believe variety is the spice of life, right? Plus, we got a mix of drama, heartbreak, and a little controversy that rocked this particular week. From shocking celebrity breakups to long-standing beefs that just won't die, plus a major industry shakeup that could change the way artists approach their craft. And oh, did you know or did you hear Selena Gomez got emotional over a major political issue? That's right. Entertainment and real life struggles colliding once again. I'm Noella Kareniali, and it's about to get real right after this. All right, so welcome back to E-Corner. Now let's get into the juicy details. I'm serving you the hottest entertainment tea of the week. And trust me, there's plenty to unpack. And for starters, we are diving into probably the biggest story of the week. I mean, it will be fair to describe it as such. And I'm talking about legendary Nigerian artists Two-Face and Annie Idibia's shocking separation. I mean, how did we not catch that coming? Because it was such a surprise. But anyway, how did it all start? Well, it was a chill Sunday evening. We had all gone to church or whatever and back enjoying a peaceful evening until Two-Face said, nope, not today. He posted this. And if we can get Two-Face posting, his first post on social media, I could quickly read through that. There you have it. So he says, hello, my beautiful people of all federations. Well, this thing, I have to say, is short, but also long. I and Annie Macaulay have been separated for a while now and currently filed divorce. I would grant a press release soon to say my story, not because it's anyone's right to know about my personal life, but because I love my people and I need them to know my innocence or offense. Stay blessed, my people. I love you all. Now, this perhaps might have been considered a normal, not so shocking or surprising post, but the timing. And I'll tell you why the timing makes this all a problem. So following the release of popular Netflix, reality TV show, Young, Famous and African, I'm sure you've watched it. The season 3 has been released. If you haven't watched, you should go on Netflix and watch it for yourself. But following the release of the show, Annie, who's a cast member of the show, had come under heavy criticisms over a number of issues. First was how she was portrayed on the show as a narcissist, a fake person, a dramatic person. She had issues with her hair, her makeup, basically her look and feel on the show as compared to other cast members was just not given. Plus, watch this. So several scenes of her unusually shaking her head made a lot of people or fans speculate the possibility of her being on drugs. So really, it had been a terrible number of days for her on social media. And guess what? Amidst all of this drama, her husband and life partner of 12 solid years, 2 kids shared together, and of course 5 other stepkids, decides what perfect timing to share with the world that I've separated from my wife. But then it gets interesting because he made, or at least that's what we thought, another post suggesting that his account had been hacked. Let's take a look at that post if we can quickly read through that. So he says, my Instagram account has been hacked. Efforts are being carried out to take it back, or take back control, I beg your pardon. Hashtag one love. And this made a number of fans, heave a sigh of relief. In fact, I was one of them because I was like, oh, maybe, yeah, true. It was hacked. Until he posted this video.
Yo, my people, man. Nobody hacked my account. Let me talk with you, I want to talk. Understand? I come in peace.
So that was Innocent Idibia, or Two-Face Idibia, basically rubbishing the post about his account being hacked and standing 10 toes, 10 fingers on business. And so obviously this gave room to a lot of Annie sympathizers who felt this was so wrong of Two-Face, considering the fact that through all the controversy and rumors of promiscuity that has characterized the career of Two-Face and, you know, Annie, she stood strong beside him and behind him. I mean, she gave context to that saying when they say behind every successful man there's a woman. She gave that saying context. Notable amongst those who shared, these sentiments were media personality Toke Makinwa. Well, let's see actually what she had to say under the post, the video Two-Face posted on his social. So she said, "This is so wrong on all levels, and you should be ashamed of yourself for bringing this here. Bring it on. If you think she's alone, let me tell you here that you have to fight all of us." Well, she doesn't end here. She goes ahead onto her story and writes, "I'm not one for too much talk, but what is wrong is wrong. And as a woman, if you sit on the fence on this one, if it misses you, it'll touch your daughter or any female in your family. No one is innocent, and if you want to bring the media into it, knowing what is happening, we would fight for her." She doesn't end here. There's a last post. She continues by saying, "Nobody's asking anybody to stay in a situation that's not serving them or serving any purpose anymore. By all means, leave if you must, but why bring this online this very moment? We know what is going on behind closed doors. The world doesn't know anything. It's already been hectic with opinions flying around. And when I say we will fight for her, I'm not talking about the general public. A handful of people know the truth, and time will tell. Timing is everything. Empathy is everything. You constantly preach love. You cannot add to the narrative that's out there when you know what is really happening behind closed doors." Well, Toke isn't the only media personality who had a lot to say about, Two-Face's post. Ife also had this to say. She said, "First they groom you, then you lose yourself, and then they dump you. I'm so angry. I never involve myself with things like this, but this is a disgusting behavior by this man. In the time when this woman is being bashed, you had to say this, knowing you constantly humiliated her publicly since I was 18 years old. Why now? Why heap more fire on her reputation? Never ever choose a man over yourself. No one is indispensable. Gosh." Marian Jocko is not only an actress, she is the wife of the creator, CEO, founder of Iroko TV. She also had quite a mouthful to, dish out on social media. It says, "Bro, Annie has a family. Your sisters-in-law are many, and we've stayed quiet out of respect for her tough choices. But since you've decided to humiliate her at her lowest, no wahala. It's your choice. Just make sure she's healthy and okay. Because when the time comes, we'll have plenty of questions for you." And then we also heard that unfortunately, or should I say allegedly, she has been checked into rehab. And there are two individuals who are facilitating that, and that is superstar singer Tiwa Savage and Toke Makinwa herself. We don't know how true this is. It's only a rumor, and so take it with a pinch of salt. Do not, grab it all. But listen, this is quite a sensitive, touchy subject. It's about marriage. Ordinarily, we should not discuss things that has to do with people's private business. But hey, they're public figures, and they brought it out. And if they do, and my salary, depends on the stories they serve. Why not? I would serve you. But of course, listen, we are going to keep our tabs on this story. And should any, update pop up, if it ticks on the talk, we will talk. That's a bar. Anyway, let's zoom into the seeming resurrected beef between former Lynx Entertainment label mates Kwame Eugene
and Dope Nation. I mentioned semen because a lot of people are now considering the possibility of the beef being, you know, a publicity stunt to probably release a song or whatever. And don't worry, I'll tell you why it probably might be a publicity stunt. So Dope Nation, as a duo, as a group, first got signed onto Lynx Entertainment on 30th April 2019. And they signed for just a year, which meant that in 2020, the next year, their contract duration would have ended. And indeed, it ended in 2020, and they left. Now, when they left, or just around that time, my senior colleague, Dorian Avio, caught up with Kwame Eugene and said, you know what? I mean, when these guys were signed onto the label, I had a conversation with you asking what you thought about, them being the new addition to the label. Now that they have left, what do you think? Watch.
And finally, before I let you leave, I mean, when Dope Nation came, we had the opportunity to ask you guys how you felt with them joining Lynx Entertainment. Now they are no more. How does that make you feel? Just a year with Lynx Entertainment.
It makes me feel good.
Why?
It makes me feel good. I mean, they're two matured folks.
Wow.
They joined Lynx Entertainment, and I believe their time is over. Yeah, that one Richie should answer. I don't know. I think, I mean, there's time for everything. If this is the time for them to leave, and they've been able to master courage to be on their own, may God help them. And I'm so happy for them. Do you get it? And just say, be on my free home, I mean, the world is ending or anything. I'm so happy for them. And I'm glad that now what will be shared among 4 boys will be shared among 2 boys. I'm on bye-bye.
And this perhaps playful statement by Kwame Eugene obviously didn't sit well with Dope Nation. They registered their displeasure in an interview with Abeku Santana on his show. I would have wanted to play that, but listen, time won't allow me. And so we're going to skip that interview quickly. But the good news is they settled their differences publicly in 2020 when Kwame Eugene won the then VGMA, now TGMA Artist of the Year. And so we thought all was well, really, between them until in 2024, following the controversial manner through which Stonebwoy was crowned the TGMA Artist of the Year over King Promise. You remember that controversial crowning moment? Well, Kwame Eugene made this post, and I'm going to read that if we can have it on the screen. Well, he says, the music industry no be how the fans they see them. It's bloody. It's a bloody game now. People will do anything, pull any strings for validation. I get time. And then, of course, he had a response from Dope Nation. And they said, see the kettle calling the pot black. But that's not all. Because last Thursday, after months of speculations, is Kwame Eugene still with Lynx Entertainment or not? Because we had heard a lot. We had heard rumors, little birdies here and there, whispering in our ears and all. Well, here's the owner of the label, Richie Mensah, with an seeming official announcement.
Artists on a 360 deal. So
Okay.
there's Kiddy, there's DJ Veroski, and there's DSL.
Okay. Wakari also.
3
You know here.
Then when you say 3 artists on 360, it means there are some left who are not on 360.
Yes. So
What
so
is
now
it?
because we have distribution, anybody can sign on to the distribution.
So yeah, I mean, he was asked how many artists do you have on your label. He mentioned 3, DSL, Kiddy, and one other guy. I just, his name just escaped me, but it's fine. We did not hear him mention Kwame Eugene's name. And so we take it as though Kwame Eugene is now an independent artist and no longer with Lynx Entertainment. But guess who had to be petty about the announcement? That's right, your guess is as good as mine. Dope Nation. They posted something on social media that I want to quickly read through. It says, let's see how you carry the so-called Lynx curse now. What was meant for 4 people is now for 1 person. We wish you well at Kwame Eugene. Well, Kwame had to respond. Obviously, if he did not, I would have been very surprised. So he says, anyone looking for attention to drop another gym song should wait. I'm dropping a classic on my birthday come Saturday for quality music listeners. And then I will make some time, okay? Hashtag ladies and gentlemen, hashtag Odasem. And of course, Dope Nation had to come in with a banter. They said, as fake as that wig they wear, do us all a favor and take it off. We will soon know who drops a classic this weekend. Game on. P.S. Don't go and steal someone's song at Kwame Eugene. But let's, go back a bit and find out what the Links curse is about, because a lot of people have been throwing it around. Links curse, what is it? Well, it is widely believed by some music fanatics that most musicians who leave the Links Entertainment record label aren't able to stay relevant in the industry or music scenes as compared to when they were on the label. So that's what people mean by the Links curse. But once again, here's the owner of the label giving some context to the term.
Let me explain this thing so that you guys understand it. Music business is hard. Links, like I just mentioned, Links Group has over 60 employees. And even us, it is hard.
Okay.
People see the results and think it's easy for us. No, it takes a lot of brainstorming, a lot of work, a lot of investment to keep us where we are. When an artist leaves that setup and they are on their own, it is difficult. They are not cursed. It is difficult. And as you've seen, artists have left Links and they do well. But what happens is it's hard to maintain that level, because as opposed to a time when you had 60 people working on your project, you have a team that is going around on the street promoting your music. We have a team that's sitting there working on creatives, a team working on PR, a team working on your visuals. When you leave and you don't have the power to employ as many people, then the work, the input is dropped drastically.
All right, so Kwame Eugene, Dope Nation, Richie Mensah, done and dusted. Now you know what the Links curse is about. We're about wrapping up. But listen, let's do some international stories. Now, if there's one celebrity who wears her heart on her sleeve, it's Selena Gomez, okay? Now, she's always been vocal about issues that matter to her, from mental health, women's rights, and now immigration. This week, she got emotional while addressing the struggles of immigrants in the United States, and let's just say it hit her deep, okay? In a video she shared on social media, she just couldn't hold back her tears. As you can see on your screens, she sympathized with immigrants who were arrested and deported under the strict policies of US President Donald Trump. And for those of you who do not know, that's because she has Mexican roots, okay? So it resonates with her, what's going on. But anyway, unfortunately, here's where time will allow us to share with you some of the biggest stories that have rocked this week. I've had fun bringing you all the breakdown. But anyway, next week, Friday, we'll be back with another edition of E-Corner. Until then, let me just wrap up with my adorable sweetie who's right here on standby. Hi, sweetie.
Hi, Noella. I was enjoying your delivery, the details in the story. It was beautiful. Thank you for bringing us all that.
You're welcome.
But that's all that time will allow us. That's our time. In fact, on the AM show, I did this with Benjamin Akakpo. My name is Sweetie. I nearly said Noella. Sweetie Abochi. Join us on Monday for more action on the AM show. But for now, please stay for Joy News Desk with Faustina Safo. It's bye for now.
Bye.